Sourav is a great talent, Boria is not. The point is, that's not how it's done. Everybody has talent. It's in on us, mentors, teachers, coaches, to identify the talent. This is the talent on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you once again the Manovikas Kendra Band, Tal Tarang, to kick off the Trailblazers Conclave 2.0. Thank you very much. if you don't feel emotional and if you don't feel that is inclusivity, then I don't know what inclusivity is. Trailblazers Conclave 2.0, ladies and gentlemen. I would have continued with this. I requested the gentleman to finish because Nicolo Campriani has joined us, the Zoom link from Los Angeles. So we've got to get going. So quick photo op, Chanakya Chaudhary. Please, can you lead us? Sarvesh Kumar, Sanjeev Navangol, Anil Singh. Can we have you on stage for a photo op with the kids? Abhinav Bindra to lead, please. Adil Sumariwala, Love, Viren, Sourav Ghoshal, Shormishta Guptu, can you come with them on stage for a Kaushik Ghosh, for a photo op with them? Srinjoy Bosch, I can see you at the back. Kindly come on stage for a photo op with our kids from Manovikas Kendra. Formal kickoff, Trailblazers 2.0. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a round of applause for these kids, please? আসুন হ্যাঁ রিমুভ করুন রিমুভ করতে করতে আমরা ওদের সাথে একটা ছবি তুলবেন ওনারা come at the back yes our dignitaries, can we please have you at the back because we want these kids at the forefront. We'll have these kids at the forefront. This has not happened. I mean, we've got the best of corporate India and sport at the back with our kids at the forefront. My apologies, but this was fantastic. Prantik, join us on stage. Join us on stage. Vinod, where are you? Join us on stage. This is well and truly emotional, right? I don't know if Raghav's there. Maria, why don't all our speakers, Maria, kindly join us on stage. Kindly, please come. All our speakers, because the light is on my eye, I can't see everyone. So all our speakers, kindly join us on stage for the photo op, and we will close this session. Take your time. We've got a couple of minutes. We'll close the session and we'll move on to the first session. Sir, apni boshun. I'll join. Apni boshun. Thank you very, very much, everyone. Thank you very much. That's the formal start. We've got to clear the stage in the next 2-3 minutes. And the next session, I will introduce as we get ready. It's got the very best of sport. As I said, we will be talking about values that sport stands for and brings to us. So leading this panel will be my dear friend, someone I have the deepest of respect for and someone I consider a sounding board for anything critical and constructive. My friend Abhinav Bindra, Olympic gold medalist and one of the greatest India has ever produced, perhaps the world has ever produced. Joining Abhinav will be on a Zoom link from Los Angeles in the United States. He's already online, is what Trisha just informed me. The sports director for Los Angeles 28, Nicolo Campriani, multiple Olympic gold medalist, and someone who led the Refugee project along with Abhinav Bindra for the International Olympic Committee. And joining us, Trisha, do we also have Gopi? Not yet. If he does, we will also have Pulela Gopichand joining us from France. And this session will be moderated by co-founder of Rev Sports, Dr. Shormishta Guptu. So our team, can we have the 2 chairs? We just need 2 chairs. Hello, we just need 2 chairs. 2 chairs. We need 2 chairs. As the stage gets cleared, I will invite Shormishta to join. Trisha, if we have Nico's video on this television monitor. We've not seen him yet. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. No. Of course. Can we have the feed on this? There it is. Nico, good morning from Calcutta. I know it's evening. Thank you very much for joining. We were having a performance from a group of kids with disability to kickstart the conclave, so apologies for the 5-minute delay. Sincere apologies, but thank you once again. I know it's difficult to adjust the time zone, but very pleased deeply appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much. May I call on stage, once we are ready, can we just have these wires removed ASAP? এই তারগুলো একটু সরিয়ে দিন। তারগুলো, তারগুলো। পেছনে করে দিন এই তারগুলো। তাড়াতাড়ি, তাড়াতাড়ি, তাড়াতাড়ি। সেশনটা শুরু করতে হবে। হ্যাঁ। Yeah. If you don't get the feed here, stand and do.
That's what I'll have to do if the feed is not there.
Rajada, can we have the feed there? সুজয় তাহলে ঘুরিয়ে দাও। Listen, listen. Go till 10:30 and then 10:35 এ শুরু করলে অসুবিধা নেই, 5 মিনিট ইজ ফাইন।
না না আমার তো দুটো প্যানেলিস্ট, আমার তো হয়ে যাবে।
এসে গেছে দেখো, নাহলে এখান থেকে শুরু করবো। ফিডটা এসছে? আসছে? বসুন। না, আগেও বলেছিলাম না, সেটা আমি বলতে পারবো না। না, ready? Okay. Abhinav, can we have you on stage? We've got the feed on. Thank you very much. Shormishta, over to you. Can we have the 2 microphones to her, please? Rajada, can we have the 2 microphones on stage? Because we will start right now. Can we have the 2 microphones? Yeah. Thank you, and over to you both.
Is Gopi joining? Okay. Good morning, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to start the first panel of the Trailblazers 2.0 conclave. And with me on stage is Abhinav Bindra, who of course needs no introduction. He is India's first Olympic gold-winning athlete, iconic athlete. And, and here on a link is Nicolo Campriani. He is, again, another Olympic gold medalist in the same discipline of shooting, and he is another iconic athlete, and he is the sports director of LA 2028. Now, when we have athletes of this stature on a panel, it is expected that we will talk about the winning moment, possibly, or about the gold, or about what it takes to reach there, or that euphoric moment when you're on the podium. But instead, we are going to talk about something else. Oh, Gopi has just joined. So our third panelist today is, of course, Pullela Gopichand. He is the badminton guru. He has produced many national champions, and he is Gopi Sir, as Gopi Sir, as he is known very fondly by not only his students but us all. So welcome, Gopi. Welcome, Nico. Welcome, Abhinav. So I was just starting to say that when you have athletes of this stature on a panel, you might expect to talk about their winning mantra, but instead, what we are talking here about is their impact on the larger sporting ecosystem. So we are going to talk about, with Abhinav, we are going to talk about the Olympic value education system. With Nico, we are going to talk about his involvement with the Refugee project, with the Olympic Refugee project. And with Gopi, we are going to talk about his investment in the project for a larger physical literacy. So Abhinav, let me start with you. The Ref Sports team was in Odisha when we were making a document on Odisha sport, and we visited a school where we saw children who were included under the Olympic value education program, and that was a very small part that we saw. What I want to ask you is, you tell us, we want to hear from you, what is the Olympic value education system, and at what point in your sporting career did you get involved with this whole movement?
Well, I think to give a little bit of a background or to everybody on why I got interested in projects such as these is, I retired from a long career in sport in 2016 with Nico, same games. And, I've had a long time to reflect on a long career in sport over 20 years. And frankly, I look back at my long career in sport, not really at the few medals that I've won, which hang on a wall at home pretty much. But I really look back at my long career in sport, at the relationships I was able to build with people. And frankly, the sort of person I became in the process of winning those medals and what sport did to me. Bori already said in his opening remarks that, sport teaches you how to win, but more importantly, it teaches you how to lose. It teaches you so much about building friendships. It teaches you so much about rules, about respect, about learning to respect others, about learning to respect your own self. It teaches you camaraderie. It teaches you teamwork. And for me, there lies the real power of sport, on how sport can shape young people, on how sport can be used as an important tool for nation building. And that's where I thought that the Olympic values education program is a good fit in a country like ours, which is a very young country, which needs to become more health conscious, which needs to be physically active. And of course, we need our young citizens to build character. And there's no better way than to build character than on the field of play. And that is what pretty much the Olympic Values Education Program is an experiential learning program where kids firstly become physically active, become physically literate, um, derive health benefits of just sheer play, but most importantly, reflect on Olympic values of friendship, respect, excellence, and the further values that sport brings. And become better human beings through sport. They learn things like work ethic. They learn things like teamwork. They think inclusivity is a very big thing in the program. And that's where we started. We started the program in Orissa, where we are in about 250 schools there, scaling up further this year. The program's also been started in the state of Assam. And it's been going really well, and I'm just very delighted to put my time and energy into it, because for me, there lies the true power of sport and what sport can really do to play a meaningful role in our nation's development.
Thank you, Abhinav. That was wonderful to hear. And before I go to Nico, and I'll come back to Abhinav, we were in the school, which is included under the Olympic Value Education Program, and in Odisha, and it was quite a humble school. The children are from relatively underprivileged or less privileged backgrounds, and I saw girls playing with boys, girls becoming team leaders, in the mixed group of boy-girl teams. So that was something which I really took home from the school that I visited, that how these girls are just learning to, lead through this program. That was something I, as a mother of a young girl, took home. So I'd like to come to Nico now. Nico, if you can hear me. Now, you have been very integrally associated with the Refugee project, the Olympic Refugee project. So tell us a little bit. Abhinav was talking about an athlete's rediscovery of his or herself through what they give back to society. So you tell us a little bit about how you came to the Refugee project and what you then took back from it.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me and see me okay?
Yes, yes, we can, we can.
That's great.
We can hear you.
Great. So, yeah. I mean, I'm happy to talk a little bit about the refugee project that Abhinav and I worked on together. So, as Abhinav said, we retired pretty much at the same time almost at the same shot in Rio 2016 with that final. And look, after that, it's always a tricky time, right? When it comes to transition, on one side you're looking at the future, what's next. On the other, you're looking at the past and trying to really understand if it was worth it, because it was a lot of hours, thousands of hours spent, in a shooting range, pretty much staring at a piece of paper. You start wondering, was it worth it for the medal? Was it worth it for the personal development? Was it worth it for the impact that I had on others? And definitely, there was something there. I think that the most meaningful stuff was always related to the impact that we had on others when we were competing. So that's where the idea came up. And I knew that in Rio there was an Olympic refugee team, which was an initiative of the IOC at the time. And I knew that there was going to be another one, so in Tokyo. So I wanted to contribute, even if I was retired. At the time, actually, I moved to Switzerland and I was working with the IOC. The idea was basically to leverage on the network that I had as Olympic champion in order to get the resources from, the sport equipment, some of the funding needed for traveling and competing, basically a little bit of crowdfunding and leveraging on the network of an Olympic champion to support 2, 3 athlete refugees in their quest to qualify for Tokyo. But instead of identify athletes that fled their country, here the project was reversed. We actually reached out to the refugee community in Switzerland when I was living. And basically from scratch, the idea was from being a beginner in my sport, the idea was to help them to reach the minimum qualifying score and then go into the Olympics with the refugee team. And that's what we did. We reached out to the immigration office in Switzerland, and we ended up selecting 3 athletes, Luna, Kaola, and Madi, respectively from Eritrea, Syria, and Afghanistan. And from scratch in 2018, we started to train together. And then with the pandemic, which was an extra year of training, Luna and Madi ended up reaching the minimum qualifying score and ended up competing actually in Tokyo. And Luna was also part of the refugee team, and it really comes down to that network of fellow athletes like Abhinav and his foundation play a critical role in supporting this project, and not only having an impact on Luna and Madi and Kaula, but also inspiring other Olympic champions or other Olympians or other champions out there that even if it's an impact on 2, 3 people, it's a drop in the ocean, but it still has a meaningful impact. And one of the coolest things that I've done as an athlete actually ended up being after my retirement.
All right, Nico, that was very instructive to hear. One thing that I really took from what you said was that projects like, the refugee project, or I would say for Abhinav, the Olympic Value Education Project, these are projects that are a connect between the athletes' past or present and future. So the past or present where your sport is like an obsession, where you have to win, you have to, be there on top. And then your future, where it becomes like a larger commitment that you're, giving back to society. So can I just get Gopi in here? Gopi, can you hear me? Is Gopi there? No. All right, I'll ask Abhinav the next.
You're stuck with me now.
Yeah, I'm stuck with you, yes. So,
Gopi, I think you're on mute.
Oh, Gopi, can you hear me? Because I can't see Gopi on the screen. But Gopi,
Can
if
hear
you
me now?
Gopi, if you can hear me. Gopi kicked off the Trailblazers 2.0 conference with a press conference. He was here a couple of days, 3-4 days ago, and he kicked it off with a press conference, and we were having a chat before the press conference, and we were talking about physical literacy, which for you is like a larger commitment. Like for Abhinav, it's OVEP, like for Nico, it was the refugee project. for you, physical literacy is something which you're very passionate about. So, Gopi, please tell us that story of the girl who couldn't catch the ball that you threw at her, and how that brought you to a much larger realization as a coach.
Uh, well, happy to be here and hear both Nicole and Abhinav's views. As always, very good to hear those. Um, well, for me, as an athlete, and I've also had a long career in sport, um, having played till about 2003 and then transitioned into coaching. For the next 10, 12 years, I was coaching. And then 2015, I had a particular incident where I was throwing a shuttle to a kid, and the kid dropped the shuttle. And till this time, for me, all that mattered in a group of kids was where is the best talent and how I could train them and get them to the highest level. That was the only objective in my mind. As an athlete, where resources were less, and also as a coach, where you have finite time, you kind of tend to deviate to the players who have the most talent and then train them, um, and then get the results. But then there was this girl who actually dropped catching a shuttle um, almost from about 5 to 6 feet away. And then I was a little annoyed. I said, you need to be focused. And I kind of, in a group of 30 kids, I kind of walked to the next kid. And then after the end of the class, she comes up and says, Sir, teach me how to catch. And that for me was something which changed my very perception of sport in a lot of ways. Because I never thought that I could actually have a scenario like this. And I started to realize how um, this um, sport being only for the selected few or the genetically endowed cannot be the end all of sport. And we need to have everybody experience sport. And for them to experience it, I think we need to make them enjoy it. And that started to make me look at things very, very differently. In urban India, where kids to even run as fast as they can, or to run as long as they can, or to jump as high as they can is a problem. I think the next generation is going to have very different things than what we have today. So much so that our parents are more physically literate in some sense than us, and our grandparents are more. And as Abhinav said, I think how do you make the community start off and do things for life? In this, and how are they conscious about sport? Because sport should not end up being only about competition and winning, and it should not become that for the select few. It cannot be only about medals, and we have to start realizing the overall benefits of sport. And that for me became the larger perspective. And for me, physical literacy is not just about playing any sport itself, but just the mind body connect to make sure that they are physically active through life. And that for me became a mission which I am very passionate about.
Thank you, Gopi. Thank you. And as always, very instructive to listen to you. And Gopi was telling us that day when we were interacting with him that, it's not only about playing sport, it's about learning a dance form like Bharatnatyam, or it's just about, doing your own work. Like, in India, women, we don't have wrist power because we're not trained to use our wrists. We can't do planks. So these are things which need to improve. So I have time for a quick round of questions because we have to be on time. So I'd like to ask Abhinav. Abhinav, we are in Olympic year. And your children in the Olympic value education schools have been, they have been exposed to the Olympic movement. What is their awareness of Olympics now? Are they looking forward? That kind of thing. And also, if you could touch upon physical literacy, maybe very briefly.
Well, they are much more aware about the Olympic movement than I am. I mean, when I go and visit these schools, and I have to be very, very aware and go well prepared, because their knowledge on Olympic history is far, far, far better than mine, because they're in it day in and day out. But perhaps I'll just maybe give 2 or 3 examples of what the sort of impact that this program's had. This program allowed about close to 50,000 girls in the state of Odisha to experience sport for the very first time in their lives. As you rightly said that these programs run in government schools, and what happens normally in PE classes in these schools, at least in the past, was that the girls just prefer to stay in the classrooms. Um, like you saw in Orissa while you were there, all our activities are mixed team in nature, which forces the girls to go out and play. Of course, the boys were a little grumpy the first week or so that they suddenly have to play with the boys, with the girls, but after a week or so, they realized that the girls are pretty damn good. We did an
And
inter-school,
everyone wants to play with a good teammate.
yeah, and we did this inter-school tournament for about 100 schools at one point of time, and about 63 out of the 100 team leaders were girls, and mostly nominated by the boys because the program taught them a lot about fairness, and it was only fair to have your best athlete lead you. So that was something which was pretty impactful. It's had a very positive impact on the physical PE teacher community because traditionally in India the PE community or the PE teacher is the lowest rank in the hierarchy of a school system. But now, whenever there is a government official coming from the education department visiting the schools, the first person they ask for is the PE teacher. So it's taken up the profile of these PE teachers to a great degree. There is a particular teacher, her name is Smita Mansi Jena. Her story was actually picked by the United Nations, and her picture is part of an exhibition at the UN headquarters in Geneva. So from back in beyond in Orissa to get to Geneva was quite a big deal for her. I'll probably end with, we just talked about inclusivity, and we started this with this wonderful musical display. There's a boy in I think grade 7 with a disability, and through the program, it just allowed his friends to become much more sensitive towards him. They changed the rules of the game so that he could also participate in sport. They've made his teammates and friends have made a massive effort to make the playground in their school friendly and safe for him to participate. And this boy is so inspired by Olympic values and Olympism. He's never going to go probably to an Olympic Games, but he's so inspired by just Olympism that he wants to. It's become his life's mission to almost spread Olympic values across his community. So those were a couple of examples which have touched my heart, and I'm sure it touches everybody's heart and really showcases what sport can do to people.
Total inclusivity, and that's what we are all looking for here. My question to Nico. Nico, if you can hear me. Cricket has, of course, been included in LA 28, and that's big for us because we are a great cricket-loving nation. Olympic sport is already big in India, and it happened with someone like, Abhinav. When he won the medal, we realized, okay, we too can do it, and now it's, of course, very big. Do you think with cricket's inclusion in LA, we are going to have a lot more interest in Olympics out of India?
Well, we'll surely hope so. Yeah, that was a little bit the idea behind the package of sports that the LA 28 as organizing committee proposed to the IOC for inclusion. So it was basically this mix of showcasing American sport to the world, like football from American football, as well as lacrosse, as well as baseball and softball, as well as introducing global sport to the US market, like cricket, and really finding that balance of showcasing the host country, but also bringing the world to LA and to the United States. So I mean, we made the announcement of cricket inclusion at the IOC session in Mumbai. So it couldn't be like a better location, honestly, for that announcement. We could feel the excitement the moment we walked out from the room. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be extremely exciting. We're really excited to see what's going to be the games in LA, Paris first. So first of all, we're rooting for the French team to put together an amazing game, and that build up towards the LA games. But yeah, cricket fan around the world. We can't wait to have you here in LA and US.
Thank you, thank you. So my last question is to Gopi. Gopi, you are in Paris, and you know Paris is the city that will be hosting the Olympics going forward. So do you see any kind of buzz around India? What are people predicting for India? You know, just what's the mood now that we are so close to the Olympics?
Well, I'm having this tournament, the French Open, at the venue which hosts the Olympic Games for badminton, and I can say it's one of the most beautiful venues I've seen. So I'm sure, as Nicola said, I think we'll have a great show in France. And as far as the Indian team of badminton is concerned, I think our qualifications are still on for the next half month. I'm hoping for a good qualification and, of course, at least a couple of medals at the games.
Thank you very much, Gopi. So thank you, Gopi, thank you, Abhinav, thank you, Nico, thank you all of you for joining in this panel. We are trying to be on time, and we are just on time, so I will end this panel here. It was a wonderful discussion, very instructive to hear from these champion athletes and mentors. And, you know, thank you to the audience for being here and listening.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very, very much. That's the first session of the Trailblazers Conclave 2.0. I'll ask both of you to be on stage for a minute. Abhinav and Shormishta, kindly be on stage for a minute. Can we please have Chanakya Chaudhary to come up on stage and felicitate Abhinav Bindra? Gopi and Nico, we will have to do this virtually for both of you, so we would have loved to have you here physically, but because of spatial and time constraints, Gopi, thank you for coming the other night. Nico, look forward to catching up with you soon enough. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Nicolo Campriani, Pulela Gopichand, and of course, Abhinav Bindra. Chanakya Chaudhary with Abhinav Bindra and the final photo op. Can we please have you in middle of the stage, please? All of you, middle of the stage? Shormishta, can we all have you middle of the stage for a photo op, please? Thank you very much. And we thank all our sponsors for the gifts that they have given for our speakers. So thank you very much for the first session. Thanks a lot, Chanakya. Thanks, Abhinav. Thanks, Shormishta. Time to move on to the next session. After a very, very instructive start, the points that were discussed is exactly what Trailblazers stands for. Olympic Value Education Program, physical literacy, the Refugee Project, the larger story of sport, the macro story of sport. Now let's move on, and I hope you understood. We were able to get a hybrid panel done with Paris, with Los Angeles, and of course the physical presence of two speakers here in Kolkata. The next panel, dealing with pressure, there's a slight change in that panel. We will have Igor joining us slightly later. So he's already here, but we will get coach to join us for a panel at 12, and then he will also do another panel for us in the afternoon. Because for the 12 o'clock panel, there's a slight change, so we'll move that around. But joining us for this panel, dealing with pressure, P.R. Shrijesh, Manasi Joshi, Savita Punia, Viren Raskin, if Shriyanka Sadangi is here, she will join us as well. Now think about it. 6 seconds to go on the clock. 41 years, India has not won a medal at the Olympic level in hockey. The clock actually went off at 27 seconds. Shrijesh was in goal. Germany gets a penalty corner. 6 seconds on the clock. Some of us who were there in the stadium, it was COVID times. We all had our hearts in our mouths. We talk pressure, right? This man in goal in front of the German penalty corner. If he doesn't save it, India doesn't get a medal. 41 years. 41 years we've waited. 41. Shrijesh saves that. The rest is history. If that is not pressure, I don't know what pressure is. Coming to my next speaker, Paralympic world champion. After what she has gone through to rise up the ranks again, rediscover life, become a role model, and now she inspires. Just last week at the Para Badminton World Championships, multiple medals. P.R. Shrijesh and now Manasi Joshi. That's the kind of inspiration we need from our athletes in our society. We talk about women's hockey and we talk about Tokyo. There is one match that will forever be in the eyes of every Indian if you are a sports lover. And that's the quarter-final against Australia. I had the privilege to be in the stadium. 7 penalty corners. 7, Australia was then the world's #1 team. 7 penalty corners, each saved. India makes the semi-final of women's hockey in Tokyo. The game elevates itself from and also ran to respect. Ladies and gentlemen, now the captain of the Indian women's hockey team, Savita Punia. Finally, to a very, very close friend of mine, as an athlete, 180 caps for India as captain as well, and now making fundamental change through the Olympic Gold Quest program as its chief executive. Put your hands together for all our panelists. P.R. Srijesh, Manasi Joshi, Savita Punia, and Viren Raskina. Can we have all of you on stage? Can we have the chairs, please? We need 6 chairs for this panel. And to the 2 moderators, Prantik Mazumdar and Gargi Raut, can we have you on stage? Where is Prantik? Gargi, can we have you on stage? And we will get it ready for the next panel. Dealing with pressure with P.R. Srijesh, Manasi Joshi, Savita Punia, Viren Raskina, Prantik Mazumdar and Gargi Raut as the 2 moderators. If we have Shriyanka, Trisha, can you speak to Shriyanka? Shriyanka, you're there. Beautiful. We need 5 chairs. Brilliant. So we need 7 chairs in all, 2 for moderators. Add Duto, please. Add Duto. She's just qualified for the Olympic Games from India 2 months, 3 months back in October, and I was watching the live. Shriyanka Sadangi, thank you very much. It was difficult, I understand, because you landed at 8:35, and I requested you last minute to step in. Ladies and gentlemen, Shriyanka Sadangi. Thank you very, very much to all our speakers. Prantik and Gargi, over to you both. I guess the 2 moderators should sit on either ends. There you go. Microphones.
Hi everyone, very good morning. Wonderful to see everyone here. Trailblazers 2.0, we couldn't have had a better start. And with so many champions, my heart is definitely beating hard. I can feel the pressure here. Can you imagine what they go through, right? Thank you so much for being here. Viren, I'm going to start with you. Dear friend, as Boria was talking about, you guys are doing some fantastic work at OGQ. I love the mission statement of, it just takes 6 grams of gold to lift the worth of the nation. That's what OGQ is sort of trying to champion. But if I look at it the other way, if that's the mission statement, does that not add extra pressure on the athletes that suddenly you're telling them that all you're striving for is gold? Take us through, how do you guys help athletes manage mental strength and pressure, especially in an Olympic year, when the mission is that specific, 6 grams of gold for the nation?
Hi, thank you, Prantik. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here among so many sporting greats and legends. That's a lot of pressure making me answer that in 2 minutes. Actually, it boils down to keeping things as simple as possible. And one of my mentors in life and in sport is the legend Prakash Padukone. And the one thing I've learned from Prakash sir is that it's always a state of mind. It's up to us how complicated we want to make things and how simple we want to make things. And I think Prakash sir, in the last 20 years or so, I've known him. I've never seen him complaining about everything. The easiest thing to do is, I think, to complain that this is tough, India is tough, there are no coaches, no facilities, no grounds, no equipment, blah, blah, blah. But I think rather than complain and grumble, the tougher thing is to do something about it and actually work within limitations and make things happen. And that's what we have tried to do at OGQ right from the start, not complain and grumble, but just quietly go about and work. And Prakash always said that as long as you're super well prepared, you do what's in your control. And for us athletes, like Srijay, Savita, Mansi, etc., all of us, it's about what can we do as athletes, what's in our control. It's our training, it's our commitment, it's our dedication, it's our looking after our nutrition, it's ensuring that we get enough sleep, enough rest, and training as hard as possible. And then when you go out there, you give it everything. After that, the result doesn't matter. We just follow the process. And you know, how does confidence comes to handle pressure? I think confidence comes from not Adil sir or Abhinav or Gopi telling us and telling young athletes ki, don't be afraid, give it your best, etc. It comes from solid preparation every single day. I think Abhinav's preparation from his book, he was the epitome of preparing for every single eventuality. Adil sir's federation, the Athletics Federation, I think the process they follow is today giving us results. So I think if we follow the process really well for athletes, because we all know that there's immense talent in our country. If we bring process, structure, good people, I think our young kids will automatically handle the pressure far better. Mainly the pressure comes when you're not prepared. If you're prepared, actually as a player I never felt any pressure. It's a privilege to be over there. Most of the athletes we support at OGQ, about 400 athletes across 9 individual Olympic sports and Paralympic sports, they actually come from really poor backgrounds. I mean, look at Sheetal Devi, the armless archer. Sheetal Devi cannot hold a glass of water. She cannot put on her own clothes. She cannot feed herself. And so, you know, what is the pressure for us to go out there and play and do something we love? So, I think if we are well prepared, we will be able to handle the pressure.
Priya, I come to you next. Of course, when we're talking about dealing with pressure, I go back to Tokyo. 6 seconds left on the clock, on the cusp of history. With the weight of the country on your shoulders, how did you stop yourself from getting in your head?
Good morning, everyone. Tokyo, that was a good dream, but that last 6 seconds was a bit tough. But the pressure comes from the expectations, and your thought about the result, that's put you under pressure. So I think for that moment, I was there in that particular time. I didn't think about the past or future, or what if I never thought of that if. The only thing what I was thinking about, how can I block this? How do I do it? Because I seen the best part of hockey, I seen the worst part of hockey. So the journey helped me to be there at that time and to face that ball and to save that ball. That's it. Because sometimes we always say that the pressure management, the handling the pressure is quite easy, but it's not that easy, because unless if you've never been through that path, it is really tough for you to manage that. For me, it was like being that particular moment, just thinking about the current situation, how can I block it? If I was thinking about, as Majinder Bhai mentioned, 41 years, bronze medal, or how people is going to treat you, or if I don't win, then how it's going to be. So it was not there in my mind. I was just thinking about what can I do right now.
No, that's very well said. Absolutely, very, and again, Srijay, congratulations to all the great stuff that you've done for us. Mansi, I'm going to get to you. Bodhi just talked about all your great achievements. It must be so hard to sort of, get to the pinnacle and apex. You're a world champion. Even at Hangzhou, you've won 2 medals. You've continued to win medals. You've been world #1. I remember Harbhajan Singh saying this, back in the day that getting to the top is hard enough, but staying on top is even harder. Talk us through your mindset. How do you sort of, handle pressure when you have so much to lose? You've achieved, you're at the top. How do you sort of, what do you do to sort of say, how do I sustain this?
Thank you for your question. Um, According to me, like I do not think I take pressure when I'm going out for tournaments. For me, it's more about performing by giving my 100% and putting in the time that I'd spent in my training into practical. So when I get to do that, I feel really honored. I feel really happy that the training that I have done, I'm able to put it into my game. And if I am able to do it 100%, I'm winning the match. If I'm still able to put in 80%, I'm still able to manage. But then if I am not able to give in my 100% in any tournament, then I know that it's just a change in mindset I require, and I work on that, and I go for next tournament with a better mindset. So I don't think I take any pressure when I'm out for tournaments.
That's rather superhuman. I don't know how you do that, but continue that and hopefully you win many more laurels for the country.
Savita, I come to you now. It is often in times of failure that we put the most pressure on ourselves. I go back to Ranchi now. Japan defeated India to get the last qualification spot. On that night, you were on the cusp of quitting the sport. Can you put into words, what it is that you were going through and what it was that brought you back to the sport?
Yeah, definitely. As a senior player and as a goalkeeper, I always say pressure is always there. I cannot deny, like, okay, I was not in pressure situation, but that match was definitely, I'm not that much able to talk because it's hurting a lot now also and at that time also. But we just decided, like, okay, before that we had a semi-final against Germany and shootout. We finished in shootout and always people and my team always trust on me a lot, like, okay, we can do better in shootout, and we did. Even like everyone know Germany is the topest team in the world, and but we was confident about the third fourth position match, and we decided, like, okay, nothing to lose and we have to be qualified because we deserve to go there. Our team is improved a lot in the last 4-5 years. And I think, in sport life we are not using that much word like hard luck or something, but that much was for us, it's hard luck because we did everything and we played good hockey also. As a goalkeeper or as a captain or as a senior player, I never forget that match because of that match we are not able to go in Olympics. So after that we had a pro league game and we decided, like, okay, now we can't change, but it's sometimes we think, like, okay, 4 years is very long time, but if we decided then not that much, so we are just looking forward. And I know in India everyone is just hoping, and people are after Tokyo Olympics think, like, okay, we have to be go Olympics, and the people are waiting for the medal. But honestly, we deserve. Even Srijesh Bhaiya also there, he also can explain how like 2-3 years we continuously focus on the Olympics, like, okay, Paris Olympics, and we did everything. And especially as a goalkeeper, I also did everything, extra goalkeeper session, fitness, everything. But yeah, it's painful for us. I know painful for people, but painful for us also. We are not going for Paris Olympics.
And just to follow up on that, now that there's no Paris Olympics to look forward to, how are you redefining yourself as a captain? How are you instilling that belief back into the team?
I think failure also is the part of sport life, and we are definitely that time we was so down, but now we have to be move forward, and we are looking forward, and we just see, like, okay, where we can improve. And as a goalkeeper and as a captain also, we already had a meeting, and we discussed, like, okay, which is our focus point in the next camp and next tournament. And I think we improved even after that also, because in between 2 weeks we had a pro league games and all top teams was there, and but still we decided like, okay, we can't change now anything, like, okay, we didn't qualify, everyone know, but it's very hard to go forward, but our team did, and for upcoming year we just step by step, so now we have again pro league games in the May, and we are just focused on that. And yeah, as a captain I just say to our team, we definitely we have to be look back also, like why we did not qualify, but we have to look forward also and move on, and that's the part of sport life.
That's incredible to hear, and hats off to your dedication as well.
Absolutely, Savita. There's LA to look forward to, and you just continue, as I think Viren says, continue focusing on each day and the process, and I'm sure we'll get back there. And kudos to everything that you've done. Shriyanka, I'm going to come to you. I mean, you've done so well at the Asian level. You've secured a berth for Paris. Take us through your mindset of your preparation. Viren spoke about that. A few months to go. How are you sort of dealing with that anticipation? What's going on in your mind as you sort of prepare for that big opportunity to strike whatever medal that you can at the Paris Olympics?
A very good morning to everyone. And I feel like what Viren sir said totally resonates with all the athletes. Everyone feels the pressure, because if something matters to you, you are bound to feel the pressure because you value it, you work for it. But I think pressure is also very important. It helps us to stay focused, it gets us to be sharp, and and it shows that we really want to perform well and we want to give it our best. One of the best ways which I have over the years experienced and come to understand is that preparation is the key for it. You get confidence if you are well prepared, if you're well versed with your technique about what you are supposed to do, excuse me, if you understand yourself well, your methods well, that is all that matters, because that is what is in your control. You can't control a lot of factors which are on the outside, but you can definitely control that one single shot which I'm going to shoot. So if I prepare well for it, prepare for all eventualities, prepare in different situations, then definitely when I go on any given match day, I tell myself that yeah, I'm well prepared for it, I've trained for it, I will be able to do it. So that was what my mindset was when I was at the Asian Championship and I got the quota. And that is how I'm preparing for the upcoming Olympics as well. Another thing he said, which again resonates a lot with me, is the other day someone was asking me that, okay, now that it's the lead up to the Olympics, what is different? And I said, strangely, there's nothing different. It's just the consistency of the small things, your routine that you do every day that matters. So I think when you keep the bigger picture in mind, you do the small things every day, your workout, your training, your mental training, your nutrition, all of it in the routine, the way you're supposed to do it. That is what is going to give you the confidence to face the challenges, and I think that is what should work.
So very well said, to focus on the process, the routine, and just sort of keep believing in yourself and knowing yourself and focusing on what you're really good at. All the very best as we sort of lead up to the Olympics. Viren, sorry, I'm going to take you to a little bit of a painful memory. Athens, 2 back-to-back losses, obviously life-changing. But obviously, like you said, you beautifully said, pressure is also a privilege, right, to sort of represent your nation at that, particularly the highest level. My question is, since then, 2004 to now, 20 years, 2 decades, obviously, you've played different roles. Is there one or two things that you see different in athletes from India today versus when you were playing for India or captaining India? What has changed in our routines, in our exposure and our mindsets that you think we might be handling pressure better today, if that's the case?
Yeah, when I played in Athens, India was playing a very crucial league match against Australia, and India needed to beat Australia. For Australia, a draw was enough to get to the Olympic semi-final, and India was leading 1-0. That time hockey was, just 2 halves of 35 minutes and not 4 quarters as it is now. They were leading 1-0 in the first half. They made it 1-1 in the second half. Dhanraj got a yellow card and he was suspended. We were playing 10 versus 11 against Australia. We all know it's tough playing 11 versus 11. To play 10 versus 11 for 10 minutes, super hard. In those 10 minutes, Australia scored 2 goals. They were leading us 3-1. Dhanraj came back on the pitch. India made it 3-2. With 7 minutes left on the clock, India made it 3-3. But we had to score the winning goal. We were throwing everything into attack. We had 5 penalty corners, last 10 minutes, their goalie saved it all. With 52 seconds left on the clock, India had a free hit on top of the Australian D area. Except Adrian, our goalkeeper, all 10 of us went on top to try and score in that final minute. And in that final few seconds, what happened in a blur, because in our urgency to try and score, one of us made a mistake. The Australians counter-attacked us. And with 20 seconds left on the clock, Australia scored the winning goal that night. They won 4-3. For me, it was heartbreaking because 6-7 years that goes into Olympic preparations, and like Savita said, dealing with defeat is the hardest part, and picking yourself up from defeat. And when I look back now, and I heard Nicolo saying that one of the coolest things he has done is actually after retirement. And for me, I think a cool thing that I'm really proud of is being a part of OGQ and giving the opportunity to hundreds of talented young kids to fulfill their potential. And the one big difference I see over the last decades is actually the belief in the minds of the young kid coming from small towns and villages that they can actually do whatever they want in life, and they believe that they can go out there. And when I think I played in the early 2000s, Indian players were still happy to compete at the Olympics. Today, when they see Shrijesh and Savita and Mansi, etc., today Indian players believe that they go there and can win and can beat the best in the world. And that belief is intangible, but it is so important. I think I was doing the live commentary at the Tokyo Olympics when Shrijesh made the save, when Savita made those brilliant saves. And when the Indian women's team was celebrating that win against Australia, I was just thinking to myself, how many million young girls in some maybe remote village in India looking at that and just believing that they can do whatever they want in life. And I think that hope and belief is so important for us, for sport, to give young kids out there.
And Shrijesh, I come back to you. I was reading somewhere that when you were younger, negative thoughts were more at the forefront of your mind than positive ones, and that led you to concede a lot of goals. What was that process from realization to, that this was happening to then actively working on that issue?
See, I do have the issue still. Seriously, I do have that fear still. Before every matches, there will be butterflies in my stomach. So when you are a youngster, you doesn't know how to handle that butterflies, because that butterflies always lead you into negativity. All the negative thoughts, it shoots into your mind, and you always started to think negativity, or that negative parts of your training or negative parts of your past tournaments comes into your mind. But over the period, when you face that pressure, you learn how to handle that butterflies into the positive side. So for me, there was like more of like, okay, self-training. It's like how to handle the pressure. Because in India, we don't take care of that part in a positive way. Like in the training programs, we never address that issues like what players are going through, or how can we develop them in the mindset way. Because now every athlete here, when they participate in a normal tournament, it's really normal. People comes, they watch, they goes. Even medias, social medias, they don't celebrate that much. But when it comes to World Cup or Olympics, the media, the people, the association, the fans, the parents, everyone started to become a coach. Right? Everyone started to give you advice. Everyone started to monitor you like you are something special. So you are not aware of that attention. You are not used to with that situation. Now there's a pressure. And from the beginning of a sports person, everyone says you need to win it. They never taught you how to enjoy that. So if you enjoy it, even under pressure you enjoy it. But the coaches, even the grassroots level, always tells you that you need to win. You need to win. If you win, you get it. If you don't win it, then nothing is there. So you start to develop that pressure inside you that you need to beat someone to win something. That is the pressure. That's what we are feeding to the young generations, that if you win, you are there. If you don't win, you are nowhere. Then the players, the young kids forget, or they never learn to enjoy the game. And when I grew up, I spoke with a lot of sports persons, a lot of other athletes, a lot of players from the other countries. They always say that our coaches doesn't bother about winning. They always say that play your best. Once they are good, they are good. I can give an example. The other European countries, when they finish their big events, they call up all the sports persons together. They get together in one place. They celebrate it together. Even irrespective of you're a winner or a loser, they come there, they celebrate it, and they go back. So everyone get a treatment in the same way because you represented your country in the biggest stage. So everyone is so happy. But most of the time in our country, I mean, recently it's changed a lot. But when the winners comes, okay, they're treated in a different way, and the losers come, they doesn't even come in front of the media or people. They always go behind. I mean, from the airport, they just go their home. So then the mentality is in their mind that, okay, being there itself is a great thing for us. The dream is like to get a job or settle in somewhere. Even if you get a financial support, okay, you are happy with that. So the dreams are limited there itself. So we just need to teach the sports person, the young athlete, to enjoy that situation, enjoy the sport. Once you start to enjoy the sports, then even under pressure, you don't want to win there. You just want to enjoy it. So when you do something with a smiling face or with enjoyment, you will do your best there. And that's what I think I do now, because we always say that being goalkeeper is something tough. But goalkeepers are like wine, because when you get all the experience, when you consider the bad goals, I say in my early stage, I considered 9 goals against Australia. So that was the base for me. So that was the humiliation I faced in my early stage. And when it comes to now, I knew that, okay, what's the worst scenario is. And I've been through that. Now I'm solid. Now if I even consider 4 goals, I feel like it's okay, I can do that. So that kind of mental stability, I got it because I've been through that. So for me, what I am today, it's because of my past. But we need to learn it, we need to analyze it, we need to apply it into our current performance, so that will help you to become a better player.
All right. No, thanks, Vijay, so much for that. Mansi, we have time for one last question, and I'm going to come to you. Pressure comes in different shapes and form. One is, anticipating, one is sort of during the game, and one is after, right? I mean, you're a media celebrity. You've been on the cover of Time magazine. BBC has felicitated you. Mattel has also sort of, celebrated your success through a special Barbie doll. I mean, you're a role model for our society today. Tell us your thoughts that, how do you sort of deal with pressure with media? Srija's talked about social media. How do you handle that pressure? Any thoughts or 2 cents for the world of media as well? What should we be doing differently to sort of support fans? Your 2 cents on that.
So I think media right now, I'll talk about my journey on how I have used my pictures to change the perception of media. What I had done was previously, if you see any articles which have been written about me pre-2019, they were usually every media person or somebody, whoever is writing an article, would specifically ask me कि आप अपना full length picture दीजिए. So there was a more focus on showcasing my disability in the article, and usually those articles would be, I would get a middle page, I would get a half page on a paper, but my ambition was never to make it there. I was a sports person, and my ambition was to make it in a very small sports column rather than getting a center page or an article. After becoming a world champion, I started giving pictures of my headshot or above the waist pictures, which I felt, and even whoever asked me for a picture, I would just give that picture to people. And I think that is how according to me, at that time I thought this is how I want to change the perception of media. Even if people were calling me in panels, they would put a full-length picture of me in a very small circle that I would get. And I would request those organizers to change my picture to a headshot, which is for everyone else. So that is the change in perception that I took a stand, or I took a step in giving my input. I know that para sports now is gaining a huge popularity, and it is as equal as every other sport. And I really appreciate how media has played a role in making that change. Now when me being a part of this panel, me being here in this conclave, I think that is an example how media is changing this perception and giving importance to all athletes with or without disabilities. And I'm really happy that all newspapers now have, of course, we have always seen all our cricketers on front page. But now, whenever we are winning medals at Olympics or Paralympics, we get the coverage like everyone else. So that is one good thing media has done. And I think, I don't know how much I can talk about other sports, but as a para-athlete, I feel there has been a huge change in how articles are written about athletes with disabilities, how people are appreciated for their records that they are breaking, the distance. There is a huge data which is right now given. And I think data creates fans. The more the data present for people to see, that will create interest. And this is what right now media is doing, giving out data. Even I remember मेरे World Championship के match के पहले head-to-head was given कि इनके पहले like between these two opponents, what are the head-to-head, what are the amount of matches I have won, what are the amount of matches my opponent has won. So I think these data which right now media is giving to people gives an opportunity to create more fan base. And any sport is because of its fans. So right now, we are in this generational shift on how media is changing the perception around sports for people with disabilities. And again, I don't want to comment about other things in media, but yeah, this is what I feel right now.
Oh, fabulous stuff, Mansi. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for the folks who are changing the landscape of Indian sport. Fabulous points on data sort of driving the media conversation. Viren, loved what you said, pressure is a privilege. The athletes need to sort of feel that. Srijesh, like you said, enjoy it. Savita, you said, it's important to sort of take defeat in your stride and pull your team and sort of look ahead. And, Shriyanka, wonderful points on sort of focusing on your routine and sort of not straying away from that. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause for my fellow panelists, Gargi. Thank you. And let's look forward to the upcoming session. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Prantik, Gargi, and of course to our panelists, Shriyanka, Banasi, Savita, Srijesh, Viren, very, very dear friends of mine. Can we have Preetha on stage, please, to felicitate the panel? And all of you just step forward for a photo op, and we will move on to the next session. Preetha from Tata Steel to felicitate this panel, our athletes dealing with pressure. Can we have all of you? Yeah. Can we have Preetha to felicitate? Again, I thank all our partners for their support to be able to pull off the Trailblazers 2.0 conclave. Preetha to felicitate now to Savita, and then Manasi, then Shriyanka, and then Preetha, if you could stand with our panelists for a photo op. Just stand for a photo op, please. Down. Yeah, perfect. Super. So that's the photo op, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very, very much to the panel. Apnader hoye gele joy da hoye gele bolben. Done? Tola hoyeche? Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Can we get now 4 chairs on stage? Just 4. Time for the next panel. Very special panel. 2 people who stay within 15 minutes of each other in Calcutta. One in Behala and one in in Alipur. Interestingly, they have never met. So this panel was actually discussed and conceived and planned in November at Sourav Ghoshal's house over Darjeeling tea, and he said, "Ami Sourav Ganguly ke meet korini." And within a week, I went to Sourav Ganguly's house, who I consider a friend, a brother, a mentor, somebody I deeply admire and respect, and I said, 7th March, you will have to come for the Trailblazers conclave, 2 back-to-back panels. Sourav Ganguly for the next hour, 2 back-to-back panels, half an hour each. Without further ado, put your hands together for the 2 Souravs, Sourav Ganguly and Sourav Ghoshal, Sourav calling Sourav, and to moderate this panel, G. Rajaraman and Ishan Shahane. Can we have all of you on stage, please? Sourav Ganguly, Sourav Ghoshal, G. Rajaraman and Ishan, can we have all of you on stage, please? Sourav calling Sourav. By the way, we are live on all the Red Sports platforms. We are live on YouTube, on Facebook, on all our platforms. And on Instagram, we are continuously posting photos. So kindly share, tweet, post, and talk about it.
If you're all settled, can we have everyone sit down, please, so we have your attention? Ishan,
Yep.
please.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here and a warm welcome. I'm joined with both the Sauravs here today. It's a pleasure. I'm going to get the ball rolling straight away. Sourav Ghoshal, I have to ask you, when you thought about the concept, Sourav calling Sourav, what was the first thought in your mind?
I think the first thought in my mind was, like Boria mentioned, that we've never really interacted. So obviously, growing up in Calcutta, he's been the one to look up to in terms of sport, and through watching him play for so many years, you have so many questions in your mind, wondering what he's going through, dealing with a million things being thrown at him in a country like India where cricket is a religion. So yeah, I think that was something which kind of really jumped out at me, and I was excited, and hopefully today I'm going to put him on the firing line in a few ways, and I'm sure he's going to come out as well as he's always done in life.
Thank you, Sourav. Sourav with an O now. Okay. When you first heard Boria call you and say, let's do a Sourav calling Sourav conversation, what went through your mind?
I really didn't think much about it. I said, yes, no problem. We'll do it, and he's been a champion for such a long period of time. We hardly get to meet. He stays so close to my house, but because of work commitments, busy schedule, we hardly get to meet each other. But it's so happy to see him on stage and share the stage with him. He's achieved so much for himself, his state, his country. So it's been an absolute honor.
Thank you.
Mr. Ghoshal, I have to ask you, as a young boy, you never got the opportunity to meet Mr. Ganguly. But if you did, say as a 17-year-old, what would be a few questions you would like to ask him about your sport, or how you could possibly, grow as an athlete?
I mean, I think the first thing would be, I'm sure people know his history. He got picked for India for the first time in '92, but there was a lot of things that happened and didn't get picked again till '96. And in an athlete's career, 4 years is a long time. And with no end point in sight, so to say. So to just try and understand, how he went through that kind of period and, kept himself motivated enough to be able to kind of perform. And when he did get the chance to almost feel vindicated that, I belong here, and obviously, the rest is history in terms of what he did at Lords and the next test at Trent. So yeah, I think that would be my first kind of thing that I would want to know, that how he managed to get through those times, because I'm sure those were hard times in a lot of ways.
Sourav with the O. There are so many champions here. We've got an Olympic gold medalist. We've got Olympic medalists. We've got Paralympic medalists. An amazing congregation of wonderful athletes that India has produced. One sitting right next to you, and you yourself have been a legend. Why is it that cricket seems to stand out and not have conversations with non-cricket athletes? I mean, can we have more of this? Trailblazers has set a beautiful example of bringing all of you together under one platform. Should we have more of this?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think we do meet in such platforms, and we've met before. Abhinav here is an absolute champion. The other day I was attending a program, and there was a question on him on his Olympic gold medal. The champions here as well, the other champions. But the issue is, we come from different parts of India. And as you asked, why cricketers don't get so much time to interact. Firstly, the modern day cricketers are never home. They're always on the road, and as a viewer who watches cricket on television, at times thinks that, geez, how much cricket they play. There's a test starting in Dharamshala today, and in a week's time they'll all be in the IPL, which is another 2.5 months tournament, and a week's time after that they'll be in the World Cup in the West Indies. So these are the various restrictions which you have in a modern day life, but you follow them. You follow them. With media being so into you these days, whether it's social media or the digital media or the television media, you get updated with everything what they do. And as you rightly said, this is an event where I don't use the word stars, but successful people who have worked the entire life to achieve what it is, because sports is different. Achievement in sports is incomparable because you live on the edge all the time. There's so many things which influence your performance, and ultimately you come out as a winner. So they're all special people, but as you rightly said, there should be a bit of interaction, but I think it's the busyness of everyone. It's the travel, the work, the time away keeps everyone away from each other.
Mr. Ghoshal, would you agree with that? Do you feel that there has to be more interactions that have to take place, which can help in promotion of sport?
I mean, look, obviously the interaction helps, but like how Sourav mentioned, it is it's very difficult to do it with the schedules that everyone has. We are traveling so much. We are hardly in the country for the most part. Even when we are, training takes up so much of your time, and all top athletes have a single-minded focus as to what they want to achieve, right? And everything around it is almost fluff, right? And that's the obsession with achieving perfection to the best of your ability that gets you to achieving at the highest level. So yeah, of course, it would be great, to interact with different, like he said, successful people from different fields, because you get to learn so much from them, because they have different viewpoints, and I think life throws at you different things, which helps you to adapt and be a better athlete and a better person in general in life.
Sourav, you picked squash very early in life, but you followed a lot of cricket. You made a very fair and pertinent point during the Cricket World Cup when we met, where you said, I hope India loses before the semi-final. That banana peel happens before the semi-final. Now, we all know what happened in the end, but obviously you follow cricket. But who do you think, in all the cricket that you watched in about 20, 25 years, which cricketer comes closest to you? If you were playing cricket, which cricketer would you have reflected the most? Your own thoughts on which cricketer would you have actually reflected? Not who you wanted to be, but who you think you reflected the most? In terms of skill, in terms of qualities in life and all of that.
I mean, I think that's a very, very difficult question to answer, because I think personally I don't know a lot of them to be able to give a qualified comment on it. But I think from the outside, I think someone like a Rahul Dravid would be someone that I feel would resonate with the way like I have kind of gone about my career, so to say. Of course, there has been a certain amount of talent which you've been blessed with, but I think my biggest talent has been how hard I've worked and how methodical I've been in terms of charting out my performances and my training and things like that. And I think that's what's gotten me where I've gotten to. And from the outside, it looks like Rahul Dravid is a very methodical person with a very keen eye for detail and things like that. So I would probably say it would be him. I wish I could say it was him, but you have God on the offside with the unbelievable amount of talent, which
Sourav, we all love your honesty. We all love your honesty. We sometimes want to flatter the person sitting next to us, but I think even he will appreciate the honesty with which you answer this question.
100%. Mr. Ganguly, I have to ask you, from the Indian cricket team, who do you think would be an amazing squash player?
An amazing?
Squash player.
Squash player.
Squash player.
Squash player. Oh. Ooh. I actually did play quite a bit of squash when I was young. Seriously, to stay fit. When I was playing for the country, a long time ago, whenever I used to get a bit of time off, because we used to run so much during camps and training and during match times. So we had to find different ways of staying fit. So I used to actually go and play a lot of squash in the Tolley Club. But they all are very athletic. Sachin had a great eye to racquetball sport. He was a good table tennis player, but I don't know whether he gave time to squash. But majority of times you will see when your ball sense is good, when you have this tremendous ability to pick deliveries early, which is coming at 90 miles an hour, still trying to score of it. That remains with every sport. For squash, he has to move around in different parts of the court. Although the court is not as big as a cricket field, but he still has to adjust to the pace and quickness to the different angles. When you play tennis and when you're returning a serve which is 120 miles an hour, you have to have that ball sense to be in line and get into proper position. In cricket, it's pretty similar. When you play the fastest bowlers in the world, you have to be in good position to execute it, because it's just about one opportunity. For Sourav or for a tennis player or a badminton player, you still have 5 sets. But for a Dravid, Tendulkar, Kohli, it was just one ball. So life is a lot more on the edge for a batter than what it is for others' life. But I think once you have that ball sense and once you know how to move around, I think majority of the sports you can manage. Obviously, the more heavier the ball gets, it becomes a bit difficult. But the lighter the ball which you're dealing with makes life easy for other non-sporting people who are not connected with that individual sport to try and play properly.
We'll stick to that, move away from cricket just that bit. Sourav, you must have watched a lot of Olympic sport, Olympic Games or Asian Games. You would have tracked what's happening. Since the previous panel, as you walked in, the panel was discussing pressure. And who knows something about pressure better than you do. I want you to tell me not about the pressure you faced, but about watching an athlete, Indian overseas, who has dealt with pressure and has dealt with it marvelously, and who you have admired for the way in which he has handled pressure.
At the international level, it's all about pressure. When you get there, you have the talent, you're blessed with the ability to perform at that stage, but the ones which are more successful than the other are the ones who adjust to pressure and situations more than the non-successful ones. And I say that to every young individual who starts playing cricket. I said, you practice for 3 hours. Virat Kohli practices for 3 hours, or a Yashasvi Jaiswal practices for 3 hours. But what is it that makes him different from you? Yes, he's obviously blessed a little bit of more ability than what you have, a bit more skill than what you have, but he adjusts to pressure differently. When you walk in front of 100,000 people, and in a T20 format, you have to consistently hit the stands or find ways to clear the field. It's what you do with your mind that's important. And for me, it's not just sport. Life is about how you look at it mentally. Your body, the physical aspect take over after that, but it's the way you look at things. Either you look at it as a pressure or you look at it as an opportunity. When you get selected and you're asked to bat at number 3 or number 4 in tough conditions on green pitches with the balls doing a bit, you have to handle the best fast bowlers in the world. It's the way you look at it. Either you think, oh God, I am pushed in at number 3, or you think, oh, I'm in at number 3 to get 100. So that's the way you look at it. And for me, life is also that way. Everything of life depends on how you look at it. So I think pressure is good. Pressure is something which you need. Pressure is something which you have to find a solution to, and it's not difficult. You keep putting yourself under pressure every day. Keep putting yourself under pressure every day, you will get used to it, and you will start enjoying pressure and performing under pressure. You look at Abhinav Bindra, in rifle shooting, the margin of error is so minimal, and you have to keep hitting that spot every time. So imagine his mindset. So he converts pressure into confidence that I will do it. It's a magical thing when you see a red ball coming out of the hand. It's either you have the confidence to hit it, or you feel I will not be able to hit it. That makes a player, that breaks a player. So it's everything up in the mind, and it's everything how you deal with things.
100%. Mr. Ghoshal, besides handling pressure, what are some of the other qualities that a young athlete should try and imbibe?
I think the biggest quality that I would kind of tell kids to really look into and develop is consistency. I think you're not going to get anywhere if you're not consistent with whatever you do. Perseverance and that consistency is probably the most important thing and one of the most common traits of the greatest athletes that have graced this planet, whether it be from India or from anywhere in the world. It's not easy to do. There are days when you get up or weeks when you wake up in the morning and you feel like, I really don't want to go train or I don't want to do X, Y, Z. But those are the days that you just have to start doing a little bit, right? And it's a funny thing when you actually go in and you do like 10% of what you're supposed to. When you have these goals in mind, that 10% becomes 100% as you go through the session. And I think that's the important bit, and it is something that people probably don't understand how difficult it is until you actually do it, because it's not like you're working a 9-to-5 job where someone is telling you what to do on a daily basis. Yes, you have your coaches, but at the end of the day, the effort is coming from deep within. And if that doesn't come organically and intrinsically from you, then it's going to be very difficult for you to make incremental improvements on a daily or weekly basis, which is what is going to get you to the level that you need to be at to perform at the highest level.
Truly, I think what's important here is to show up on the days that you don't want to show up. That's what makes all the difference. So I completely agree.
Thank you, Sourav. This is also about winning and losing. We put so much emphasis on winning, and this whole morning conversation has been about how we need to go beyond just winning. We need to, while winning is important, the ethos of sport is more critical. What are your own thoughts on this? I mean, if a younger athlete were to approach you and ask you for advice on how he or she should look at life ahead as a competitive athlete, what are some things that you will tell that athlete?
No, you have to win. There's no second option to it, because it's a world of performance. In cricket, 11 players out of the millions or the lakhs of people who play domestic cricket in India. And you have to keep performing. If you don't perform, you will lose your place to someone else. That's the rule of life. So whether you like it or you don't like it, you have to find ways to win. As you said, ethics and ethos is very important. That's part and parcel of life and part and parcel of sport. You cannot take that away. But amidst all that, amidst all the ethos and amidst all the, whatever way you look at it is there, you still have to win, because it's a world of performance. You do business to make profits. You play any sport. You play any sport. The pressure on cricketers and football players or shooters or tennis players is unreal, because that's the way the world it is. You only recognize the best and recognize the one which wins. So I don't see a problem with that. And a winning mentality is important. It makes you determined. It makes you focused. You will not win all the time, but at least if you win the majority of the time you perform or you participate, you've done a job. So it's not just about participating anymore. If you think about participating only, then you will have to be happy and content with the effects which just participation has. But if you want to get the best, if you want to be treated as the best, if you want to be treated as a champion, you have to win. Look in tennis. You look at Federer, you look at Nadal, you look at Sampras, you look at Navratilova or Steffi Graf or many other names who wins at the international level. Why are they recognized all around the world? Because they win. And it's same in sport. Whether it's a Kohli, whether it's a Sharma, whether it's a Tendulkar, people love them, people recognize them, people call them as champions because they win cricket matches, because they get hundreds. And that's the reality of sport. There's no place for losers in sport. Yes, you'll have people to tap at your back and say, you tried your best, never mind, next time it happens. But ultimately, deep down, you'll know that it's different when you don't win. And winning is everything.
Sourav, as a young athlete, okay, I want you to be a 17-year-old for a moment, right? We take you back 20 years. There is obviously a generation gap here between the two of you. But as a 17-year-old, if you were to hear this advice that you got to win, the world loves a winner, or the whole world loves a winner, how would you react to that as a 17-year-old? I just want you to be 17 at the moment.
Look, I think, like he said, that is the harsh reality of sport and that is the harsh reality of life. And I also think, and this is actually like, one of my regrets as as a player and as a person that because India hasn't had a huge tradition in squash, we didn't have someone who was world #1 when I was coming up, or even someone in the top 50 in the world. So my goal was not to become world #1 at that time. That's obviously changed in the last decade or so, but when I was 15, 16, that's not what it was. So I think if you have that goal and that ideal of being the best in the world and having the thing that, yes, I want to win, and that is kind of almost the be all and end all, then the way you approach your training, the way you approach your matches, all that changes, the mindset changes, right? You're always looking at how can I be that much better? And we're talking about the slightest, smallest details which are going to differentiate me winning versus losing, right? They're small things. And I think that is important. And I think that is the change. I think Viren was mentioning it as well, that, in the last few years, people are going into the Olympics thinking that, main kar sakta hu. I can win this medal now. Whereas 30 years back, they were probably thinking, I just want to make the Olympics. I just want to be there. I want to be one of the many, right? And I think that is a change in the mentality of Indian sport. And I think that is what is bringing us, the 107 medals at the Asian Games, for example. It's not rocket science that, people are starting to believe a lot more. And that is because we know that, we have to win and we have to make it such that we go onto the international stage and we're not one of the many, but we are the ones to be looked at from the rest of the world.
And I agree with what Sourav says. Indian sport has, in the last 5 to 8 years, even it was before, but there were exceptions, like Abindra. But the entire sporting community was not as successful and not as competitive as it used to be. And I'm not just talking about cricket. Cricket has also a massive transformation, and I have seen the transformation going to England in 1996 and then finishing in 2013 from all forms of cricket, and I see the transformation Indian cricket has gone through, the players have gone through, and I see that transformation in every sport in India, whether it's wrestling, whether it's shooting, whether it's badminton. You look at the women's cricket. You look at where women's cricket has gone. When I first became president in 2019 of the BCCI, women's cricket was nowhere. And with opportunities given to them, with tours, with facilities, 3 or 4 years down the line, they're as good as any team in the world. And that is because our country has changed. Our country, our outlook to sports has changed. It's not just cricket anymore. Cricket is obviously still probably the most blessed sport in India. But other than that, I think there is other sport which have gone to the next level, and I'm so happy to see that. When you go to the Olympics, you see India winning medals. When you go to the Asian Games, you see India winning medals. The journalists, people following the other sport and creating heroes in our country. For a long period of time, it was cricket, which only produced heroes. But I think it is so positive, so good to see, and it's a reflection of how the youth of our country think and believe. They are no way behind than anybody in the world. They believe that they can beat the best, whether it's from Australia or China or Japan or America. They're going to compete and they're going to be the best, and that's the best thing about India.
Thank you, Sourav and Sourav, and Ishan as well. Trailblazers 2.0 we call it. Leander Pace, who's going to speak to all of us in the evening, Abhinav Bindra, Sourav Ganguly, who instilled a winning mindset in the Indian side, especially overseas, and Sourav Ghoshal, the first Indian to make it to the top 10 in the world, first Indian male player to get there. Truly amazing Trailblazers, all of you. Thank you very much for this conversation. I wish sometimes the spotlight were only on the two of you and the two of us had vanished. But thank you so much for this conversation.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much for this amazing session. Sourav calling Sourav, Raja and Ishan. Sourav Ganguly stays on as we move on. But before that, Mr. Murthy, MVS Murthy, can we have you on stage to felicitate Sourav Ganguly and Sourav Ghoshal? Ladies and gentlemen, a slightly louder round of applause for Sourav Ganguly and Sourav Ghoshal. And of course, for G. Rajaraman and Ishan Shahani. Trailblazers 2.0, and once again a sincere thank you to all our sponsors for all the support and the gifts and everything else, for our panelists and speakers. From 12 noon, food will be served outside from the Wow Momo stall for all our guests here. For our speakers and sponsors, there's a separate buffet, so kindly avail. all these fridges, you can just open and have whatever drinks, thanks to Thumbs Up and Coca-Cola. Water and drinks is available for everybody, outside and inside. So anyone from the audience wants to avail, please feel free. Thank you very much. Can we have a final photo up? Joyda, are you there? One final photo up, Mr. Murthy. Hello, 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 hello. Sir, Shamne. Thank you very much. Now, yeah, one more. So, but thank you very much, all of you. Ishan, thanks. Sourav Ghoshal, G. Rajaraman, and we straight go in because Neeraj Chopra is already online. May I call on stage Abhinav Bindra and Adil Sumariwala? Yes, 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 yes. The felicitation. I thought Mr. Murthy was there. Please. Yes. Thank you very, very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thanks. So we need 4 chairs. Kya hai ka chobi? Okay. Dujon, thik ache. So actually, poreta to tulo tumi. Ami arekbar Sourav ke deke neব. Done. So can we have on stage Abhinav and Adil to please join us? Adil Sumariwala, President of the Athletics Federation of India, Olympian, joining Sourav Ganguly on stage. Abhinav Bindra, the greatest Indian athlete, joining us on stage and joining us online. Can we have the link to Neeraj Chopra, Trisha? Can we have the link to Neeraj Chopra? And joining us, Sourav Ganguly has to be back on stage. There's Neeraj Chopra. Dada, tumi pherot esho. Done. नीरज आपको सुनाई दे रहा है? सुनाई दे रहा है?
बिल्कुल जी.
Okay, thank you, brilliant.
आपको आ रही है मेरी आवाज?
So ये पैनल में ज्यादा मैं बोलूंगा ही नहीं क्योंकि सौरव गांगुली, अभिनव बिंद्रा और नीरज चोपड़ा, आदिल सुमारेवाला जो पैनल में मुझे ज्यादा बोलने का जरूरत भी नहीं है. Thank you very much. Can you kindly settle down? First question, we call this panel Legends Speak. Look at the quality of people on stage. Abhinav, Neeraj, Sourav. Abhinav, 2 Olympic champions together. What is it that defines both of you? For me, it is the hunger and the humility that brings Neeraj Chopra and Abhinav Bindra together. Am I right that that is something that is as important to being a legend, to connect with the mass, not to get things to your head, because in our country we are starved of champions? Is that something a hallmark of Neeraj and yourself?
I can't define myself, Boria. It's a little odd. I think I learned, sport taught me humility, because I think more than success, I dealt with failure in my sports career, and more than success, I dealt with failure during my sports career, and that forces you to remain humble. And I also realized, while it is very good to win, and I think it was my life's obsession to win gold medals at an Olympics. I only won 1, but I'm happy to have won that one. But I also realized very early in life that, as athletes, we are doing great work on the field of play, but at the end of the day, we're not saving lives here. So I think it's also important to keep a real perspective of achievement. I mean, we end up achieving a lot, and we end up achieving great things, and I think it helps the country, it helps society, it brings hope, it builds aspiration. But I think it was also very important for me to just remain real and not get carried away by success, and not get carried away with failure, and just try to have a balanced perspective. Of course, it wasn't easy to manage to have that, but at least that was something always in the back of my mind, to just try and keep a clear perspective of what I'm doing and what it means. So I think that was important, and I guess that kind of helped me. It helped me deal with success, which also is not always easy. And that also helped me fail well, because I think success is really about learning to fail well, about letting go of the unwanted baggage failure brings, but really learning from each experience and moving forward. And I think that's what sport really taught me.
Sort of same question for you. And in Kolkata, for example, everywhere you go, every single day of your life, I had once done a piece, the difficulty of being Sourav Ganguly. The blessing of being Sourav Ganguly and the difficulty. So 2 parts. One, on a daily basis, yet you have stayed humble. Anyone you see, you greet them with a bhalo acho, how are you, how is the family? And people barrage you for photographs, autographs, media, interviews. How is it to be Sourav Ganguly and stay in the present and stay rooted? And secondly, Neeraj Chopra's gold medal redefined Abhinav in 2008 and Neeraj in 2020-21. Before I go to Adil on that, how important do you think Neeraj's gold medal was for us as a nation that we can also win at Olympic stage? Sourav Ganguly.
I met Neeraj recently at a function in Vijayanagar. You asked about my humility. You should have actually seen his humility. He's a wonderful, wonderful person, and he's just 24, 25 years of age. What he's achieved at this age is unreal, and he's got so many years to go. I think being humble or not humble is something which happens as you grow up. As you spoke about humility, that's how I have been for last 25 years. Even before I played for the country, when I grew up in a family in Bengal, that's what your parents teach you, to be kind, to be nice. And I'm not saying it's just for me. It's the same thing for Abhinav. His father, his mother, his grandparents will obviously bring him up that way. That, be nice to people, be kind to people, and that's how you grow up. Your schooling is important. I went to St. Xavier's school in Calcutta, where it actually put you on a level field with everyone. You spend time with the rich, you spend time with the ordinary, and you spend time with the poor also, because that school had place for everybody. So that helped in your growing up. And as you keep playing, as you keep getting adulation and love from people, you realize how fortunate you are. And I have been fortunate with that since 1996, when I first picked up a cricket bat for India. It's 30 years now almost, 27, 28 years now. So I find myself fortunate, and I think it's the same with Abhinav. When he goes around the country, he can see in people's eyes the genuine respect for what he's done in his career. And it's not just winning the Olympic medal, but the efforts he's put in, the way he has carried himself in front of the world, and he's an ambassador. And I think that's with many successful people. So I don't think humility is a problem. You will find an odd exception every now and then, but that doesn't decide champions, because the majority of champions I have met have been people with humble background. You look at Sachin, you look at Rahul, you look at Virat, you look at Rohit, many, and they may lose their cool once in a while because they're under constant pressure, under constant speculation, not just them, their families, their children. So at times that can happen, but that doesn't justify how they are as human beings. And when you talk about pictures, when you talk about people coming to you, you feel extremely honored, because that's what you've played for in life. It's a sign of respect. It is not an issue for anyone if somebody stops you for a minute or 2 minutes and says, I want a picture with you. The day of autographs are gone because of the mobile cameras. People don't want autographs, people take pictures. But you're fortunate enough to do it. There's how many Abhinav Bindra in this country? One. There is how many Sachin Tendulkar in this country? One. There is how many Virat Kohlis? One. So you're fortunate. You're fortunate, and you should love that, because when you picked up a cricket bat, at whatever age you did, I picked up at the age of 11. Who would have told me that Sourav will play 500 matches for India and captain 200 matches for India? And when I sit back and I think about it, I feel how fortunate I am. So that's the way it is. It may not happen in my next life. I don't know where will I be. But I think it's a part and parcel of being who you are, and I don't think there is a problem with it. In this country, you get loved, In this country, you get respected. Sportsmen get looked after fabulously in our country. And you should be able to be kind enough to understand that you're fortunate.
Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. नीरज चोपड़ा बनना सेम सवाल. नीरज चोपड़ा बनना कितना डिफिकल्ट है. जब आपको हम लोग बार बार कहते हैं इस बार ओलंपिक आ रहा है, दोबारा आप गोल्ड मेडल जीतोगे, प्लीज कैच गोल्ड मेडल जीतो. टोक्यो में आपको याद है हम लोग 10-15 जन ही थे वहाँ पे, वो एक साथ ओलंपिक पोडियम से आपके साथ बात करना, भारत माता की जय एक साथ बोलना. हमारे देश में 100 साल में एक ओलंपिक गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट है एथलेटिक्स से. ये जो प्रेशर नीरज चोपड़ा, बट आप बदले नहीं हो, आप वैसे ही हो, हम्बल हो, मॉडेस्ट हो, अभी भी हंस के सबके साथ बात करते हो, सब आप एकदम ही नहीं बदले हो. नीरज चोपड़ा बनना कितना डिफिकल्ट है?
जी सबसे पहले तो नमस्ते सभी को. और मैं थोड़ा अजीब फील कर रहा हूँ कि मैं इतनी दूर से ऐसे कनेक्टेड हूँ. मैं मतलब वहाँ पे होता तो और अच्छे से फील कर पाता उस जगह को, इतने अच्छे लोगों के बीच में. पर बिल्कुल जैसा कि सौरव सर ने और अभिनव जी ने बताया कि हमें स्पोर्ट्स बहुत कुछ सिखाता है. शायद से जब मैंने स्टार्ट किया था तब मैं कुछ और ही था, और फिर धीरे धीरे मेहनत करके, और फिर वही जैसे स्टार्टिंग में हम हमेशा हार्ड देखते हैं क्योंकि बहुत टाइम लगता है धीरे धीरे इम्प्रूवमेंट होने में. और फिर जब फाइनली ऐसी जगह पे पहुंचे कि अपनी कंट्री को रिप्रेजेंट करना है, तो और ज़्यादा मुझे लगता है कि और ज़्यादा हमको बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिलता है कि हमको थोड़ा ग्राउंडेड रहना है और अपना जितना मेहनत हो सके उतना करके चलना है. और बिल्कुल जैसा कि हर किसी का एक बैकग्राउंड होता है. मैं भी एक गाँव से बिलोंग करता हूँ, एक छोटे से गाँव से, तो वहाँ से निकला हूँ. यहाँ पे आज भी जब मैं आता हूँ तो वैसे ही हमारे बुजुर्ग हैं, दादा हैं या ताऊ हैं, ताई हैं, वो सभी उस तरीके से हम मिलते हैं. और वो मुझे हमेशा ऐसा फील कराता है कि मैं एक गांव से बिलोंग करता हूं. और स्टार्टिंग से ही हमारे गांव वाले वही सिखाते हैं कि हमेशा एक दूसरे का आदर करना चाहिए. तो बिल्कुल वो तो बिल्कुल एक पार्ट अलग है जो कि स्पोर्ट्स हमको सिखाता है, या हमारा बैकग्राउंड, हम कहाँ से निकले हुए हैं, गाँव से निकले हैं, जहाँ से भी वो सिखाता है. और दूसरी बात नहीं, मैं बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छा फील करता हूं कि मैं उस जगह पे हूं कि मेरा एक ड्रीम होता था कि मैं अपनी कंट्री के लिए खेलूंगा ओलंपिक्स में या वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप में या बड़े गेम्स में. और आज फाइनली मैं वहां पे हूं और मैं ऐसा कर पाया कि हमारे देश के लोग मुझसे उम्मीद कर सकते हैं. और मैं इसमें प्रेशर तो देखो फील होता है, इतना बड़ा खेलने जाते हैं, लेकिन मैं साथ के साथ मोटिवेटेड फील करता हूं कि इतने लोगों की जो दुआ भी मान लो या फिर उनकी उम्मीद मेरे साथ है कि हाँ नीरज कर सकता है. तो बिल्कुल मैं तो इस चीज में बहुत अच्छा फील करता हूँ कि इतने लोगों को ट्रस्ट है कि मैं अच्छा कर सकता हूँ, मैं अपनी कंट्री को प्राउड फील करा सकता हूँ. और बिल्कुल इतने साल खेल के compete करके इंटरनेशनल उस पे वो धीरे धीरे एक्सपीरियंस भी हो जाता है.
सही बात है. I mean, आपको देखकर इतना लोग अभी जैवलिन खेल रहे हैं, हम लोग भी कर सकते हैं, ये बिलीफ हमें अभी आ चुका है. पहले 2008 में अभिनव, क्रिकेट में सौरव, और वो जो जेनरेशन था सचिन, सौरव, राहुल, लक्ष्मण, वो जेनरेशन से अभी तक ये एकदम आ चुका है. बट आदिल, आई वांट टू कम टू यू ऑन दैट. वी कीप टॉकिंग अबाउट एबरेशंस इन इंडिया that we win despite a system, Abhinav, Neeraj, but it is not that. The Athletics Federation of India has brought in a system. 29 medals at the Asian Games cannot happen without a system. Can you talk about that? The project of creating a system and forgetting Jugaad.
See, nothing can happen without strategic planning, without having a plan in place, then going out there, executing that plan. It's like a corporate. You have a vision, you have a mission, you have objectives, you do analysis, internal analysis, external analysis, you come up with a strategy, and then you see what is required to implement the strategy, whether it's money, whether it is equipment, whether it is infrastructure, etc. And that's exactly what we did. We had a two-prong strategy. One was a grassroots level strategy, and one was an elite athlete strategy. Neeraj came out of a grassroots level strategy at the Inter-District Championships, which is probably the largest grassroots level program in the world. Now, from there, he became the junior world champion in 2016. He had a coach called Gary Calvert. He had a foreign coach. Then the next coach he had was Uwe Horn, who himself was a world champion. Today he has a very good coach, Dr. Klaus.
he has a physio who's with him all the time. You need to create that whole ecosystem around the athlete. If you create the ecosystem, the athlete feels comfortable, the athlete puts in his best, then the athlete knows that there is support. Sports Authority of India, Government of India, top scheme, MOC, everybody has given support in some way or the other, and that's what we need to do with all our athletes. And then some will come out like Neeraj, some will become champions, some may not come out. But at the end of the day, if there is a strategy, there is a plan, you follow the plan, you will get success.
नीरज, मैं सौरव और अभिनव के पास आऊँगा, बट ये जो कह रहे हैं अभी आदिल जी जो कह रहे हैं कि एक स्ट्रैटेजी है, एक सिस्टम अभी आ चुका है, मुझे ये बताइए, टोक्यो के पहले आपसे मेडल का उम्मीद तो ज़रूर था, बट गोल्ड मेडल का उम्मीद शायद नहीं था. आप जब टोक्यो गए थे, ऑल ऑफ अस वर सेलिब्रेटिंग नीरज चोपड़ा, बट उतना प्रेशर नहीं था. अभी आप जब पेरिस जाओगे, हम लोग सब कहेंगे इंडिया एक गोल्ड मेडल, नीरज चोपड़ा, नीरज चोपड़ा. ये प्रेशर आप कैसे झेलते हो? इसका ये इस 90 मीटर्स का एक भूत हम लोग हर दिन आपसे पूछते हैं, और ये प्रेशर ओलंपिक गोल्ड मेडल का. ओलंपिक गोल्ड मेडल वर्ल्ड में एक आदमी को मिलता है. हम लोग ये भूल जाते हैं कि आप पूरा वर्ल्ड के साथ कंपीट कर रहे हो. हाउ डू यू डील विद दैट प्रेशर?
सबसे पहले पूछना चाहूंगा, मेरी आवाज ठीक से आ रही है क्या?
हाँ जी.
मुझे ऐसा फील हुआ कि मेरी आवाज गूंज रही है बहुत ज्यादा, पता नहीं मेरे ऐसे इसमें मोबाइल में ऐसा लगा. ठीक से आ रही है आवाज?
ठीक से आ रहा है, ठीक से आ रहा है.
ओके ओके. नहीं जी, बिल्कुल वो टोक्यो में एक अलग तरह की एक्साइटमेंट थी. मतलब प्रेशर तो नहीं बोलूंगा, मुझे तो एक्साइटमेंट थी कि फर्स्ट ओलंपिक्स है. बस थोड़ी सी दिक्कत उस चीज की थी कि जब टोक्यो में, क्योंकि डेली कोविड टेस्ट होता था और जेवलिन फाइनल मतलब लास्ट दिन था, तो मुझे एक ही डर रहता था कि यार कुछ गड़बड़ ना हो जाए, क्योंकि काफी एथलीट्स का मिस हो गया था वो, क्योंकि कोविड पॉजिटिव आ गए और फिर उनको बाहर भेज दिया गया और फिर काफी प्रॉब्लम हुई. तो एक वही चीज की दिक्कत थी वहां पे, जो सबसे बड़ा प्रेशर था मुझे कि बस कोविड पॉजिटिव ना आ जाए, खेल लें फाइनली. वो सबसे मेन चीज वहां पे वो थी, और बाकी कुछ नहीं था जी, क्योंकि तैयारी बहुत अच्छी हुई थी और बिल्कुल फिट थे वहां पे. तो ये लग रहा था कि नहीं, अच्छी थ्रो होगी और कॉन्फिडेंस था अंदर. बिल्कुल जो पेरिस होगा वो डिफरेंट होगा, उसमें डिफरेंट तरह का प्रेशर होगा. टाइटल डिफेंड करने के लिए जाएंगे, और इस साल सभी को पता है कि 90 मीटर एक लड़के ने क्रॉस की है, वो 19-20 साल का ही है, जर्मनी का. तो पिछले साल तो 90 मीटर एक भी थ्रो लगी, लेकिन इस बार प्रॉपर सीजन ओपन होने से पहले ही लग गई है. तो इसका मतलब है कि बहुत टफ कंपटीशन होने वाला है इस बार जेवलिन का, और सभी जितने जेवलिन थ्रोअर से मिला है वो सभी अपनी बेस्ट तैयारी में हैं. और मैं भी इस बार कोशिश कर रहा हूँ कि अपनी बेस्ट प्रिपरेशन करके वहां पे जाऊं. तो मुझे लगता है जी कि अगर हमारी तैयारी अच्छी हो और हम मेंटली प्रिपेयर हों उस सिचुएशन के लिए, और जो भी सबसे बड़े गेम है ओलंपिक्स, तो मैं मेंटली उसके लिए प्रिपेयर हूँ. और मुझे लग रहा है कि इस बार मैं अपनी जो लाइफ की सबसे बेस्ट तैयारी आज तक मैंने की है, उससे भी ज्यादा मैं करके जाऊंगा. तो वो कहीं ना कहीं मेरे अंदर एक वो पॉजिटिविटी है, और सबसे उससे बेटर जो चीज है, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि मैं अभी तक अपनी जो बेस्ट परफॉर्मेंस है वहां तक नहीं पहुंचा हूं. तो वो मुझे इस बार कोशिश करनी है कि इस साल मैं करूंगा. और 90 मीटर का तो जी बिल्कुल जैसा कि मैंने बताया है कि पता नहीं वो कहाँ पे क्या प्लान बना हुआ है, लेकिन पिछले भी 2-3 सालों से बहुत ही पास में आके मैं रह गया हूँ, पर वो क्या पता किसी अच्छी जगह होगी या कैसे, पर होगी जरूर. पर नहीं, बिल्कुल जी. और उनके साथ खेल खेल के वो कॉन्फिडेंस भी आ जाता है कि वहां पे इतना प्रेशर फील नहीं होता जब फाइनली ओलंपिक्स में या वर्ल्ड चैंपियनशिप में होते हैं. तो वो एक आदत हो जाती है खेल के उनके साथ. और वो मुझे लगता है कि सभी जो हमारे यहाँ पे एथलीट बैठे हैं सभी को वो चीज हो जाता होगा कि उनके साथ खेल खेल के जब हम फाइनली वहां पे होते हैं, तो कहीं ना कहीं वो हेल्प करता है हमको वहां पे कम्पीट करने के लिए.
So Sourav, he's talking about preparation, both to Abhinav and you. Playing a cricket World Cup, playing the Olympic Games, is it about preparation? Because are you already a winner? Because not every day will you win. In sport, you will lose more. Sourav, you go first. He's talking about that हमारा तैयारी ऐसा होगा, मेरा life का best तैयारी करके पेरिस जाएंगे. Sourav, come.
You know, it's only about preparation, and you just don't prepare for a World Cup. You just don't prepare for an Olympic game. You prepare every day. So you master that art of performance under pressure. You know, you just don't look at Olympic Games as a pressure, and I'm sure Abhinav will agree with me. You don't look at World Cup as a pressure. You know, performing under pressure is a habit over a period of time. So when you play your first test match, when you play the 5th test match, you have to realize that once you put your feet into this world of performance, you have to keep doing it all the time. You know, it does not matter what you did last year. It does not matter what you did 4 games ago. What matters is now. And I think it's a practice which you put in, and once you keep doing it, you know, it's like when you give your exams, board exams, you don't study 3 months before the exams. You study for the whole year. So there's an evenness in preparation. You don't panic when it comes under pressure. And that is the most important thing. Under pressure, you don't panic. And that will only come when you keep doing it over a period of 1 year, 2 year, and make it a part of your system. You know, playing fast bowlers, or when you play a McGrath or a Lee or a Shoaib or a Dale Steyn, you just don't practice playing fast bowling 6 days before the series. You do that from 3 years, so that it becomes a part of your system. And it's how your mind reacts, Boria. It's how your mind reacts when you see different things. And that happens only with preparation. You keep putting your mind through the same rigorous discipline day in, day out, it will react exactly the same way under pressure. So there's no rocket science to it. It's about waking up, performing, and making sure that you switch off also. It's not just remaining switched on all the time, because you get mentally tired, you'll get physically tired, and when it comes to the big stage, you will not have that fight, that determination and the mental strength to guts it out for 6 hours or another hour or half an hour. So it's a process which you go through for your entire cricketing career to be the best in the world, or your entire shooting career, entire sports career. You keep doing it so that it becomes a part of your system. You know, greatness doesn't happen overnight. Greatness doesn't happen in one tournament. Greatness happens over a period of 20 years. And that's why I never compare young athletes to greats. You can't say he's like a Tendulkar. You can't say he's a future Dhoni. You can't say he's a future Abhinav Bindra. You know, they've taken 20 years to be that.
Correct.
And you have to give them that. It's unfair on them because you put pressure on them. Let them play, let them go and express themselves, and then you judge after 20 years how good they are.
Sri Lanka is there, a lot of other shooters who qualified, Asia is there, Sift is there. Abhinav Bindra been there, done that. 2 Olympic Games, we've built up our shooting team. 2016, 2020, things did not work. Again, 21 shooters have qualified, 28 events. Thoughts?
Well, I'll just continue on this theme of pressure, and I completely agree with Sourav that it is all about pressure, about preparation, and I think he's articulated, and Viren articulated it very well as well in the panel before. But what I'd like to maybe talk about is, you know, the pressure is going to be there. And I think many times athletes make the mistake of actually trying to find ways to run away from pressure. But in the heat of the moment, when you're on the field of play, it's going to hit you. And you have to learn to accept it. You have to find a way to coexist with pressure. It's not going to be, you're not going to go to an Olympic Games and just walk on and say that there's no, I'm just going to have fun and there's just going to be no pressure, etc., etc. You have to be super human or completely stupid. Two ends of that spectrum, and there have been athletes who are successful in both ways. So I think acceptance of pressure is key. As soon as you accept it, you learn to coexist with it, and your mind just frees up. Human tendency is that when you're under pressure, when you're under duress, nobody likes it. We resist it. But the moment you accept it, you find a way to coexist, you find a way to work with it, and then it almost works in your advantage. Sri Lanka talked about it, that she needs it, it makes her sharper, etc., etc. And that can only happen once there is acceptance of it, and there is no resistance, there's no running away from that situation. I think another aspect which I think is very useful for athletes going into going into an Olympic Games is the practice of 2 practices. I think a practice of gratitude. I think sometimes we take little things so much for granted in life. And I think just practicing gratitude day in and day out just opens you up, opens your heart, and just improves your ability to stomach that pressure when it comes. And the last thing that I'd like to talk about dealing with pressure is really the ability to have mindfulness, to really be able to be present to the moment. In pressure situations, human tendency again either puts our mind to the past or we are already thinking about the future, and we forget about the only reality which exists, which is the now. And so, but that's not just going to happen, okay, I'm going to wake up during the Olympic Games and I have to be mindful today because this is the Olympic Games. It has to almost become a way of life, as you said. It has to be a thing that you do day in and day out. And I think these are things that will just give you tools to deal with pressure. Pressure does funny things. And at the end of it, you also have to have an immense amount of adaptability and an immense amount of creativity to be able to perform at the highest stage when the pressure is immense. Because you may have prepared to the best of your ability, you may have tried to take every vertical out of the equation, but something or the other is going to happen which you may have not planned for. So that having that flexibility, having that adaptability is equally important.
Adil, I'll ask you the next one and give Neeraj the last one. You know, we keep celebrating. I mean, these are absolute legends of our sport, right? They won. Asian Games, 29 medals from athletics, winners, and we are celebrating them. But there are many others who did not win. They're as important. They will win tomorrow. Take the Olympics. Not every athlete of yours will win, but they will compete. In India, we celebrate winners. We forget the losers. We forget people who competed. How do you, as Federation President, take care of those who did not win? Neeraj today is Neeraj, legend. But there are many others who can be Neeraj, provided they get that support from the system.
Just two quick things. One, everything that's said about pressure, I'll summarize. There will be pressure. Simple. You can't say that I have no pressure. We're playing at the Olympics or topmost level. There will be pressure. The most important thing is how to handle that pressure and make sure that pressure you can use to your advantage and not get pulled down by that pressure. It's as simple as that. Everything that's been said for the last 1 hour. It's as simple as that. My job is to make things simple, and that's why I'm a strategist. The second thing is, see, Neeraj, first with Abhinav, but Neeraj has shown the way that every athlete can win. The mindset of the athlete is now completely different from my time when it was blazer mil gaya, Olympic blazer mil gaya, now life ban gaya, kidhar naukri mil jayega. That was the sort of thought process. Today, every athlete, I mean, I was talking to Sri Shankar. Sri Shankar says, Neeraj jeet sakta hai, to hum bhi jeet sakta hai. That is the confidence Neeraj has given our people. The second thing is, maybe 30 people will go. Everybody will not win a medal. But you have to build bench strength. London, 12 athletes qualified. Rio, double qualified. Tokyo, triple of that number qualified. Unless you have bench strength, you cannot win medals. Today, when I was competing, the national record in javelin throw was 64 meters. Today, if you don't throw around 80 meters, you'll not be in the top 6 in India. If you don't have bench strength, at the World Championships, there were 3 Indians in the top 6. In the top 6, 3 Indians. When you build bench strength, and our job as a federation is to make sure that we give all the support, not only to Neeraj, which we have done, but to give all the support to all our athletes, build their confidence and tell them, we are here, we are behind you, tell us what you need, and you will get it. And you have to just go there and perform your best. We're not asking you to bring medals. Perform your best, that's all we want. And a lot of them, if they perform their best, will get a medal. Sri Shankar jumps 842, he will get a medal. It's like that. So all I've asked my athletes to do is go and perform your best. Don't worry about, I'm not asking you to even better your best performance.
Fantastic.
If that happens, great, it's a bonus.
Fantastic. Neeraj, agar aap sun sakte hain, has the frame frozen? Trisha, is that, do we have, he's there, yeah, fine. Neeraj, final question aapko, session se khatam karne wala hu. मुझे ये बताइए, हम लोग दोबारा बार बार बोलते हैं हमारे देश में फैसिलिटीज़ नहीं है. यूरोप देखो, अमेरिका देखो, उनके पास बहुत सारे फैसिलिटीज़ हैं. क्या आप ये वंस एंड फॉर ऑल बता सकते हैं, फेडरेशन, गवर्नमेंट, प्राइवेट सोर्सेज, अभी हमारे देश में एथलीट्स को उतना ही अच्छा फैसिलिटीज़ मिलता है जो बाहर मिलता है?
नहीं, बिल्कुल जी, बहुत कुछ चेंज हुआ है. जब मैंने स्टार्ट किया था तो बिल्कुल अभी आज से 10-12 साल पहले कुछ और था. अभी बहुत सारी चीज़ें चेंज हो गई हैं और हर एक एथलीट जो नेशनल लेवल तक अच्छा करता है उसको भी बहुत अच्छी फैसिलिटी मिलती है, और जो स्टार्ट करते हैं उनके पास भी ग्राउंड वगैरह होने लगे हैं. हाल ही में अगर मैं बताऊं तो मैं मुंबई गया था. रिलायंस फाउंडेशन ने एक स्टेडियम बनवाया है मुंबई में, और IIS में बना हुआ है. बेंगलोर में फैसिलिटी बनी हुई है, और भुवनेश्वर में इतना अच्छा बना है. अब इंडोर ट्रैक भी बना है वहाँ पे. तो काफी जगह पे, और वही है कि ये बड़े प्रोजेक्ट्स होते हैं, एकदम इन चीजों पे काम हो नहीं सकता. तो धीरे धीरे करके बहुत सारी चीजें जो है इम्प्रूव हुई हैं, और जो टीम है एथलीट्स के लिए, चाहे उसमें कोच है, फिजियो है, या डॉक्टर है, डाइटिशियन है, वो भी बहुत पहले से बहुत ज्यादा एथलीट्स को मिल रहे हैं. तो हम अगर कंपेयर करें पहले से तो अभी बहुत ज्यादा हुआ है. लेकिन वही है, यूरोप में ज्यादातर जाने का वही होता है कि हम कॉम्पीट करने जाते हैं. वहाँ पे अगर कोई बड़ा कंपटीशन है उससे पहले ट्रेनिंग वहाँ पे करते हैं, तो वो एक बड़ा वहाँ पे फायदा मिलता है. होपफुली आगे आने वाले टाइम में हम इंडिया में ही ऐसे कंपटीशन आ जाए कि इंटरनेशनल एथलीट्स यहाँ पे आए कम्पीट करने के लिए, और हमारे लोग देखें कम्पीट करते हुए अपने एथलीट्स को उनके साथ. क्योंकि एथलेटिक्स अभी वैसे नहीं देखते लोग कि हम बाहर जाएं स्पेशल देखने के लिए, लेकिन अगर इंडिया में होने लगा तो बहुत ज्यादा सपोर्ट मिलेगी. और वही है कि जो लोग एथलेटिक्स को अभी इतना फॉलो नहीं कर पाते वो अच्छे से देखने लगेंगे. बस वही चीज है, और पहले से इम्प्रूवमेंट तो हुई है जी, बिल्कुल मैं ये चीज मानता हूँ. गवर्नमेंट भी बहुत ज्यादा सपोर्ट कर रही है, और प्राइवेट सेक्टर्स भी बहुत ज्यादा सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं. और हमारे जो एथलीट्स हैं वो भी जितना ज्यादा हो सकता है एथलीट्स को मोटिवेट कर रहे हैं कि हाँ किस तरीके से कम्पीट करना है, कैसे खेलना है. और मतलब काफी कुछ चेंज हुआ है, और मुझे लगता है आने वाले कुछ सालों में और ज्यादा अच्छा ही होगा.
Absolutely, and music to my ears, because he's talking about a system, and I could have gone on and on and on. Our next panelists are all here, so I'll just finish off with the final minute. It is very difficult for an Indian federation to win the award for the best federation, not simply in the country, but in Asia. Adil Sumariwala's federation, Athletics Federation of India, won the award for the best federation in Asia just 5 months back. 2003, we have all written on our team. We have 2003, we had written of our team that went to Australia. We were actually talking about India will win nothing. We will lose 3-0 or 0-4 in the test matches. Brisbane, 4 down, Tendulkar out, no hope. Come in, Sourav Ganguly, 144, redefined the contours of Indian cricket for all times to come. And I know Sourav will kill me for it, but for me that NatWest moment of opening his shirt was a response that you can give it back. 2008 Beijing, 10.8 for a final shot to win the gold medal under pressure. If you climb up a 13-story building non-stop and you go and shoot, it's that level of pressure. The first ever Indian, 1920 to 2008, not a single individual Olympic gold medal, and the holy grail was touched, Abhinav Bindra. Finally in Tokyo, 87.02 with the first throw, and the stadium which had 25 Indians jumping about. The whole world was thinking something's going on, because we had all lost our voice, we had all lost our senses. An Indian Olympic gold medalist in athletics, and then the 87.58, beating Jakub Mladic and everybody else. Ladies and gentlemen, Neeraj Chopra, we expect another one. Put your hands together for Adil Sumariwala, for Sourav Ganguly, and of course for Abhinav Bindra and Neeraj Chopra. Can we have my friend Vignesh Shahane to come on stage and felicitate our panelists, Adil Sumariwala, Abhinav Bindra, Sourav Ganguly. Neeraj, we'll have to virtually felicitate you. Look forward to catching up with you in Paris. Thank you very, very much for joining, Neeraj. Appreciate you joining us. Vignesh on stage, please. Can we have...
Sabhi ko all the best.
Take care. Speakers, thank you. Yes. Vignesh Shahane, very, very dear friend of mine, former sportsman, played cricket, now the head of AGS Federal Life Insurance, felicitating Abhinav Bindra, Sourav Ganguly, and Adil Sumariwala, and virtually Neeraj Chopra. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a round of applause for all our speakers, please? So we have a photo up. Vignesh, can you stand there and all of you in front? Sourav, Abhinav, Adil and Vignesh, can you stand for a photo up, please? Yeah, right there. Sourav, once again, thank you very much. I know you came from your shooting, so thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Abhinav, you stay on. We move on, you stay on. Yes, you have to stay on. We have to have 2 more chairs. Sourav Ganguly, thank you very, very much. Adil, thanks a lot. We will get you back again. But time for the next session, and this is special. This is special because the coach of the Indian national football team, Igor Stimac, will be joined on stage by... Folks, can we have the next panel, please? আপনারা যদি একটু বাঁদিকে সরে যান because we have to start our next panel. একটু যদি বাঁদিকে সরে যান, we have to start our next panel. And we've got distinguished guests for our next panel. Abhinav stays on, and may I welcome on stage President of Rugby India, a distinguished personality in his own right in every sphere, someone who's made significant changes to the sport of rugby and has now led the Indian team to compete at the Asian Games. এই জিনিসটা হবে, but it's okay. We will continue with our plan because Rahul Bose, put your hands together for Rahul, please. Can we have the 2 other speakers for this particular session? 3 rather. Can we have the President of the All India Football Federation and someone who's a dear friend of ours, Shri Kalyan Chaube? And can we have the national coach of the Indian national football team? 10 days later, we have a Football World Cup qualifier, and all of the spotlight will be on him to deliver. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Igor Stimac. We are all about inclusivity and sensitivity, and we will celebrate as part of this panel with governance issues. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have Pramod Bhagat? Pramod, can we have you on stage? Pramod Bhagat. Done. So, time to... Anyway, Pramod, sit here, I'll be in one corner. Allows me to. Thank you. Can we please settle down? Kindly, can we have all of you settle down? Because I know Sourav Ganguly is an emotion in Bengal and photographs and all of that, but you know, all our speakers are as distinguished as anyone else. So, jara badike achen, kindly boshe porun. Jara ekhane royechen, kindly boshe porun. We have to start the next panel. Shamne jara achen, please boshe porun. We'll get going. Thank you. I'll start with you, Rahul. I mean, for a sport like rugby, for a sport like... To microphone diyeche? Okay. Can we have one more microphone, please? So, when I talk about governance issues, for example, you know, we talk about federations, and I look at Indian federations. The implementation of the sports code is an issue. taking care of athletes, finance is an issue. Athletes need to be insured in a sport like rugby. You have been able to do that with Rugby India. Can you talk to me about, as president, what does good governance stand for as far as Rahul Bose is concerned?
Buddha, can I request, there's a lot of noise in this room.
Can we please have silence here?
I mean, if people want to exit, that's fine. But, I really have no problem. But if they're here, then they should listen. Yeah, can you shut that door, please? Thank you. Just shut that door.
ওই দরজাটা বন্ধ করে দিন তো ওই দরজাটা বন্ধ করে দিন
Please.
Yeah.
And please feel free to leave whenever you want to. But if you're here, I just want some silence. Boria has called us here from all over the country. The least we can do is give you our best. That's the only, in that spirit, I've made this request. So, I don't think any of us, Kullan, Igor, Abhinav, Pramod, Viren is sitting there. I don't think any of Adil's here. I don't think any of us will deny the fact that the fulcrum of all good governance, the end point of it has to mean something to the player. This is not just an academic exercise that you do and you publish papers on. Finally, good governance has to finally benefit the player in whichever way it is. Otherwise, it makes no sense to me. Why are you doing it? So, as an example, you can think of a venue for a tournament or a camp based on where your sponsors want to have it. You can think of a venue for a tournament or a camp based on where advertisers will come. Or you can think of a venue or a camp or a tournament as to where the players will have the best fun. Which means, for rugby, it is the quality of the ground. You give players a fantastic ground and they will travel to the end of the earth with you. So we say, okay, this is March. Which ground will be in the best shape? Guwahati, Dharamshala, Ahmedabad, Kolkata makes no difference. Now you say, what is the next thing a player wants? A player wants good weather. Where will the weather be good? Third, the place where they can eat well. And then where they have to stay. They don't care about where the sponsors want the match. हिंदी में एक कहावत है, अगर नियत सही होता है तो नतीजा सही होगा. If your intent is correct, the result will follow. You focus on the intent. So as a federation, Boria, we are just focusing, when we talk about good governance, I'll give you quick examples after this. We start with saying, if I was a player, what would make me happiest? Therefore, if you want to make your players happy, as a small example, you have to keep your core team really happy and nourished and excited. We have instituted in our HR policy now compensatory off. If you work for 4 hours at a tournament for 2 days, you can take a half day off. If you work 8 hours extra, you can take any other day off. Because there's so much of work, Kollan knows this, in football also, where people are constantly, your boys and girls are on the ground, spending 16 hours for a tournament. When can they recover? So in our HR's policy now, it's like if you've spent those days on the tournament, you will be compensated as an off. This makes a big difference. If not, they don't use it, but to the morale. We've had the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Committee that's been instituted 2 years ago. I was just at the National 15s. There's a big board with the names and numbers of everybody. You know that there is, as a player, you know, the federation is watching out. So our core team, after the players comes next, how do we nourish the core team? And then, of course, there are good governance practices, adopting the sports code, having the elections, making sure your districts and states comply. Then, of course, there is with government. I remember walking into a ministry meeting and they said, why have you come? And I said, I've come to give you accounts. You gave us this much money and we're just giving you an account. They said, but that's okay. We give you this much compared to this much to other federations, so we can do this some other time. I said, no, that's not our way. We want to do it right here, right now. And we want to tell you where the next rupee is going to be spent. I'm not saying other federations don't do that, but in terms of the way we approach it. So there's government, there is players within the organization and outside the organization where we actually go and talk to sponsors. I have gone to a sponsor and said, you know what, we're not doing enough for you. We've reviewed the agreement, we're not doing enough for you. The sponsorship has grown, but our relationship hasn't deepened to enrich you more. And he was embarrassed. He said, don't worry. I said, no, we will now add these 3 deliverables to you without you ever asking us.
Okay.
I think that builds relationships.
Okay. Kollan, coming to that, 10 days later, we have a Football World Cup qualifier. We know there are other extraneous issues going on in the world. And a lot of media reportage have done. You have been you've issued public statements on these things. How difficult is it? At one level, you have your AGM 2 days later. You have the Football World Cup qualifier coming up on the 21st of March. Another one soon after on 26th of March. India on the cusp of history. And then there are these other kind of allegations and all of that. The focus has to be on the sport. The focus has to be on him, the team. And as Federation President, we know the momentum. We know your vision for the grassroots, the push, the FIFA pro projects, Arsene Wenger Academy in Odisha. Vineet Krishna was supposed to be part of this session. Now he's coming in the evening. So my question to you, Kalyan, is the focus shifting? I mean, as Federation President, you have to bring it back to the sport and the player. How tough is it for you to be able to do that in this country at this point with football?
Thank you, Boria, for organizing such an outstanding conclave, I must say. This is one of that, top global standard when all the top athletes are here, administrators are here. Coming back to your question is that, it's true, Indian football is in cusp of history. For the first time, we are in a hope that we can go to 3rd round of FIFA qualifying. This is even your previous show when Sourav, Abhinav and Nirav was saying, one of your, Adil was there. You were saying that what is and how you perform under pressure. And when pressure comes with the hope and expectation. Maybe 10 years or 15 years ago, we were not in a position to hope that Indian football can qualify to the 3rd round of FIFA. So now, when we are in that position, everyone wants to, contribute in their own way. Like 5 fingers are not same size of our hand. Similarly, anyone wants to come with maybe sharing their opinion, maybe presenting their views are different. But everyone, whoever is in, whether criticizing mode or appreciating mode, he or she wants Indian football team to do well. Perhaps thinking is that maybe this is the right way and Federation must do this way. So as long as you are firm on your opinion, like you have to do this, you have to take this route only, then only you can reach to the destination. So there, sometimes the pressure comes, sometimes that frustration comes, or maybe the allegation comes. So when you spoke about how you started, chief coach is here, we are playing 2 matches back to back, and we have high chance to do well. And chief coach had come after the Asian Cup from Qatar. And a lot of people speculated, what has he reported, whether he's going to continue with the FIFA round or not. Are AIFA going to, sack him? So And that's how, this controversies has come. But as a president of Football Federation, I would like to say that, you see, it's a continuous process of development. You cannot develop just overnight. So maybe a tournament did not go well. A set of players maybe couldn't perform well. Maybe the coach or the support staff could have done better. Or maybe the federation could have provided more support. But that does not necessarily mean, 4 weeks later, when another important tournament is there, and you are just going to change your entire technical support staff. And you create insecurity, you create a doubt among all the staff whether they are going to continue or they're going to lose a job.
Let me stop you there. The people from the media, there were media reports that the head coach, I did not start this topic, you did. Now I will ask a journalistic question. There were multiple reports in the media that the head coach and the president of the federation don't speak to each other. I'm putting it on record. There were media reports that the last 10 months you all have not spoken. The federation is not backing the head coach. The head coach is not on good terms with the federation. No support, etc., etc. Then I know for a fact that you have written a letter to the coach saying the federation is completely with you. With the media here, this program is live. Can you please tell us, Kalyan Chobe Igoshti match, is the head coach and the federation on the same page ahead of the two most important matches in Indian football history, the two qualifiers? President first, then head coach.
You see, I don't know why and how this speculation has come, but since it has come, and you have asked a question to answer, that I would say that chief coach is very much in communication with president. Only as I mentioned on your last question, the chief coach had come and there was a speculation that president did not meet. In my letter we say, we have a technical committee chaired by I.M. Bijan. And those 7-member committees, they together played nearly 300 international matches. So any decision comes to the hierarchy, it is through the subcommittee. If it is an evaluation of a national team performance, the first report and communication will go to the technical committee. And they will discuss with the coach and support staff. They submit that report to the secretariat. Secretariat will put it to the president, and president will take it to the executive council. So it is not that now myself and Mr. Igor are sitting here. It does not mean we are going to discuss about the next FIFA match, next year of contract, or the past Asian Cup. It's not a protocol. We are running a federation. We are running a sports body which has a policy, constitution. So if we follow, otherwise what is the point of keeping subcommittee? A player like Vijay and Climax or others, Sabir Ali, Pinky, what is the point of Tabiba? What is the point of keeping them? If they have no role to discuss and evaluate the technical performance of national team. And what is more important than a senior national team? So that's how, when this situation occurred, chief coach had come to football house. The meeting was with the technical committee, and that report had come to president, and president is tabling that report to the 10th of March at Itanagar Executive Council thereafter to AGM.
Excellent.
That's the format.
Excellent. Coach, same question. Are you happy in India? Give me a candid answer. Do you get the support? 2 matches coming up. You don't give us results, we'll come after you. The media will. So you give us a candid answer.
Dear Boria, first, thanks for inviting me here amongst the great athletes of this country. It's a pleasure being here, and it's a pleasure answering questions which were created by someone else, and they come as a surprise to me. And why is that? Because me and the president personally, together with the vice president, Mr. Harris, 7 months ago, had a meeting and agreed what we're going to do for the next 2.5 years. And our plan is clear. I'm in a daily contact with the main operative of the football house at the time back then, General Secretary Shaji, these days with active General Secretary Satya. And that's what we do, that's how we operate. We're not going to change our mode of operation because of the reason someone thinks this or that. We know what we need to do, we know how to approach the things and the problems, and we know how to solve them. And I will go back and say loudly now that in July, after winning the SAF championship in Bengaluru, when we had a meeting, I explained to dear President what's going to happen in the next 6 months. And exactly that happened, because we were well aware that we are not in a position to change things at that moment. We were well aware that we are going to go through a suffering time once again, like it happened 4.5 years ago when I started the process. Now it's a second phase of our work, which starts with the suffering again, but as many great goats and sportists said many times when they were answering questions, the best wins comes throughout defeats if you know how to learn things. And that's what needs to come out. Out of every defeat we suffer, and every draw we get there out on the pitch, and every win. Because we are under the learning process. We are not recognized football country still, not in Asia, not to mention the world. But we are on the verge of qualifying first time in history for the 3rd round of the World Cup qualifiers and making sure India gets another 10 games against the greatest teams in Asia.
That's the question, coach, before I go to Abhinav and Pramod. 2 matches and then the 2 matches against Kuwait. The sport will have incredible momentum if we qualify to the 3rd round. And that's the question I ask. Are we expecting out of turn? Do we have a realistic chance? Do we have a realistic chance of making the 3rd round? You're talking to a large audience.
Listen, not only in football, India is full of talent and talented boys and girls. Full of it. But it's about how good you're going to bruise them, how good you're going to polish them, how well you're going to organize the processes for them to become elite athletes. It's same with us. In football, we started processes few years back which were stopped by pandemic. Now the process is started all over again. There is a grassroots process, there is an elite program process. We know where we need to go. What will happen in the next 4 games? It's in God's hands. But what we can assure you that our team will do its best on the pitch at a certain time when the game comes to make the country proud. You know, result is always in God's hands. We know that we are a better team than Afghanistan, but we need to prove that on the pitch. Simple as that. It's not going to be easy. They decided to play the first game at the altitude of 2,200 meters, which will be very difficult to our boys, which are playing mostly at the 100-meter altitude here in India. We have only 3 days to prepare the game because it will take us 2 days to reach Aba City in Saudi Arabia, where Afghanistan is playing their home games, and then travel back to Guwahati another 2 days to reach Guwahati and play the second game. But whatever happens there, the main game is against Kuwait in June. Winning that game means that India will qualify for the 3rd round, which will give us enough time, new calendar, much more time for the national team, which I was promised will become priority for the football in the country, and great hopes.
Abhinav, what these people are talking about, clearly Rahul mentioned how the federation has gotten there, and I have seen what Rahul does. You and I have discussed the Odisha story, the Assam story now, the Odisha story which was supposed to be part of this panel, promote from that part of the world. These state governments now coming in, helping out with governance, with academies, with money, with infrastructure, that sort of made significant changes. Your OWEB program, the Sports Science Center, which you inaugurated in Odisha, which has the best facilities that I have seen. How important are these structures that are now finally coming in this country?
Well, before I come to Odisha and the role of state governments in particular, I think, you're talking about good governance here, and I think the base and foundation of good governance lies in the word trust. It is about building trust. Trust cannot happen, doesn't always happen naturally. It is something that you can't always take for granted. Trust is something that you have to continuously build. So leadership, good governance is all about building trust between athletes and the leadership and administration, to make sure that, a psychologically safe environment is created for athletes to perform. We talked a lot about winning and failure and losing today. We have to be able to look at failure very differently. When we create an environment, which fosters trust between administrators and the athlete is able to perform, is able to deal with pressure in a much better manner. So I think building trust in the organization, within the organization, is an equally important aspect. Building trust between the coaching staff, the support staff, building trust between the entire, all the executives of the organization is an equally important aspect. You also, we are talking a lot about performance, and for me, performance is all about incorporating complementary and conflicting points of view. As an athlete, I had a coach who I hated. I never got along with him, but I continued to work with him. I continued to work with him because I saw value in his perspective. It was not that I listened to everything that he said, but the 5 things did stick, were with me, ended up being the most valuable things that I ever did. So I think it again boils down that we didn't get along, but there was trust between the two of us, because I knew that even though he was giving a different perspective, which I didn't necessarily like, at least initially, I knew that he had my best interest at heart and mind, and that I valued, and that was born out of trust. So I think good governance is all about building trust, and I think that is something we need to do. We need to continuously work on that aspect. On your question on the role of state governments, I think the Odisha story is a fantastic story. I think the level of infrastructure that they've created across sports, the high-performance centers that they've set up, they're really leading the way for all other governments and all other state governments to take inspiration from. What is also wonderful to see, it is not just driven on elite sport. They want to really use sport as a medium to empower their society. And that is where the real power of sport lies, whether it be initiatives like OVEP, whether it be state leagues or state competitions that they're having across different sports, about empowering their own state teams, about taking sport to the different districts. That is what we need for sport to grow. Sport has to be seen not just from an elite standpoint. Sport has to be seen from a standpoint of community development. And that is the vision that we are seeing in Odisha, and we are also seeing that, at least I have seen that in Assam as well, where there is great work being done. There is, of course, OVEP has started in Assam as well, and it is wonderful to see that sport is being given more and more priority every day. So I think, sport remains a state subject in this country, and I think each sport has a massive role to play if we have to develop as a nation in sport.
Once more, what Rahul said, can we have silence in this hall? I understand there are children with disability there, it's difficult there, but kindly, jara dekhchen, my request, ekটু যদি silence থাকে, এই দরজাগুলো বন্ধ করে দিন। পেছনে, please, আওয়াজ করবেন না। There's a lot of serious discussion going on. যারা খেলা ভালোবাসেন, this is serious intensity on stage here. So kindly শুনুন, এই দরজাগুলো বন্ধ করে দিন। দুটো দরজা বন্ধ করে রাখুন, so that the discussion can continue. प्रमोद भाई, जब ओडिशा में इक्वल प्राइज मनी दिया जाता है, फैसिलिटीज इक्वल दिया जाता है, हम इक्वालिटी और सेंसिटिविटी के बारे में बात करते हैं, वो एक्चुअल ग्राउंड लेवल पे किया जाता है, वो पैरा स्पोर्ट को कितना सपोर्ट करता है, आपको कितना इंस्पिरेशन मिलता है। और हमारे देश में अगर हम पैरा बैडमिंटन के बारे में बात करें, व्हेन आई टॉक अबाउट पैरा बैडमिंटन, वी आर विनिंग मेडल्स एवरीवेयर। Is that, how significant is support from the government and good governance that we are talking about? Pramod Bhagat.
सबसे पहले मैं बुरिया जी को बहुत थैंक देना चाहूँगा कि आपने इतना अच्छा कॉन्क्लेव में मुझे इनवाइट किया, और सारे डिग्निटीज जो लेजेंड्स हैं उनके साथ इनकी स्टोरी हम सुन के थोड़ा ऊपर को इंस्पायर करके आगे बढ़े और ओलंपिक में मेडल लिया, उसके लिए मैं थैंक्स बोलना चाहूँगा सबको। और जैसे आपने कहा इक्वलिटी के बाद, तो डेफिनेटली अभी इंडिया एज ए नॉर्मल और पैरा में कोई डिफरेंसेस नहीं रख रहे। इवन नॉर्मल से पैरा को ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंस दिया जा रहा है अभी, क्योंकि आपने जैसे देखा ही होगा कि ओलंपिक में 19 सन से एशियन गेम से 111 मेडल्स आए, तो कहीं ना कहीं लगता है कि गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत ज़्यादा सपोर्ट किया और आगे जो फैसिलिटीज़ थी उनको डेवलप किया और आगे बढ़ाया। बट हाँ, ये है कि एक थॉट ये भी है कि जो ग्रास रूट जैसे बात अभी चल रही है ग्रास रूट की, वहाँ पर थोड़े बहुत सारे लैक्स हैं, क्योंकि अगर देखा जाए तो गवर्नमेंट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलप कर रही है, स्पोर्ट्स एक्सीलेंस सेंटर भी डेवलप हो रहा है, बट ग्रास रूट पे बहुत कम काम किया जा रहा है, जिससे कि हमारे पास गिने चुने फेस है जिसको हम आगे रखते हैं। जैसे अब लास्ट टाइम से नीरज चोपड़ा सर आगे आए हैं, बाकी अगर हम पिछले भी देखा जाए तो बहुत गिने चुने हमारे पास फेसेस है जो हम आगे इंडिया में रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं, और उसका यही मतलब है क्योंकि आप अपने पास एथलीट उतना ग्रास रूट से डेवलप नहीं हो रहे हैं और आगे नहीं आ रहे हैं, जिस कारण कि हमें अगर देखा जाए तो प्राइवेट सेक्टर में भी ये भी देखा जाए तो उतना डेवलपमेंट नहीं मिल रहा है। जैसे अभी चाइना का बात लिया जाए तो एज ए एग्जांपल लिया जाए तो वहाँ बहुत सारे क्लब्स हैं, प्राइवेट क्लब्स हैं, जहाँ पर कि एज ए बैडमिंटन का अगर मैं थॉट दूँ तो वहाँ पर क्लब से भी डेवलप होते हैं, जूनियर अंडर 7 से लेके अप टू सीनियर तक सब क्लब्स में होता है। जैसे आप अगर यूरोप में भी लिया जाए तो यूरोप में भी क्लब्स हैं जिससे डेवलप होते हैं। तो मेरा मानना यही है कि अगर हम अगर ग्रास रूट से काम करते हैं तो हमें अच्छे एथलीट और ज़्यादा मिलेंगे। और जैसे नीरज जी ने अभी प्रीवियस में कहा था कि एब्रॉड से एथलीट आके इंडिया में ट्रेन करेंगे, वो अपने आप में बहुत बड़ी बात होगी। और डेफिनेटली इंडिया में मुझे लगता है कि डेवलपमेंट के हिसाब से बहुत काम किया जा रहा है और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी बहुत डेवलप हो रहा है, बट जो ग्रास रूट का काम है वो बहुत लैग चल रहा है।
Okay. So let me ask that round of questions. Rahul, he's speaking about grassroots, but just to you, I mean, what I absolutely loved was after the Asian Games performance, there was a lot of backlash on social media about the performance at the Asian Games by the girls. Arey, what is the point? They lost so and so, they did not score a point. I saw you and the Rugby Federation jump in and protect them like anything, and the narrative was changed. How tough is it when you're in a social media age to deal with social media narratives which can get under your skin and ruin people's lives? They're young girls, the Hupi Maji story which we will talk about in the afternoon. That's when you sort of came forward, you protected your athletes. Tell me about that.
I think the best way to counter social media is to speak the truth. Through civilizations, the best way to counter any kind of hatred, envy, negativity that is disproportionate is to speak the truth. So if you ask me today, were we ever tipped to beat any of the other teams in the Asian Games? Of course not. And if anybody asked me, that's exactly what I said before. Lekin top 5 mein aa sakenge, you know how that momentum builds to an event. I said no. But it's also true, while losing, which our women by right should have, did they play their best? I don't believe they did. They don't believe they did. They know they didn't. Even everybody knows. And it's one of those things that happens. Kullan just said, you have to understand what failure means. In the medium to long run, what does one failure mean? Versus, are you still following the trajectory of putting the pieces in place? So the elephant in the room, which no federation talks about, is that nobody is interested in a sport that doesn't win. If your federation doesn't win, nobody's interested. Once you win, whether it's Aditi Ashok in golf, whether it's the table tennis players, whether it's Satvik, Chirag, go back. This is the way sport moves. If somebody wins, that person becomes a lightning conductor for attention to the sport, which is the way it should be. So good governance, the difference between, oh, we have to win. Okay, you'll win once. Adil, you spoke about backup. You spoke about generations of athletes. You'll win once. Karo, 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 karo. Ah, jeet gaya, jeet gaya, jeet gaya. Have you put into place a structure that will ensure that this arc continues, at least doesn't drop. Anybody can throw money at something and make it happen once. I won't mention countries in the world that do it, cynically, just to make sure they win that once. We are interested, I'm sure all of us here are interested in building a culture whereby winning becomes a byproduct of that culture and not at any cost of that culture. So I think that good governance, that is what it will ensure, that this is not a flash in the pan, but this is part of an upward trajectory. That is the raison d'etre. That is the responsibility of a federation. Otherwise, pack up and go home. Okay. Don't sit here.
So, Rahul did not mention the last few minutes in this panel, he did not mention the Middle East. We know what happens. African athletes are brought and they win the medals. For example, even in the Asian Games, we would have won a lot many more medals in athletics. Adil and I have had multiple discussions on this, so it's a fact of our world. But is that the ultimate goal, just winning medals or buying medals, or the process? Abhinav, last 30-second answers from each one of you. Is Indian sport on the right track? We talk about being a multi-sporting nation. We talk about 100 medals at the Asian Games, 111 medals at the Para-Asian Games. We are saying Paris will be a watershed, but at the same time, we see problems with multiple federations. Wrestling is still a problem. Volleyball is a problem. X-Federation is a problem. We see all of that. Governance is an issue. How do you see it?
Well, I mean, the governance issue is no secret. I think I already answered it, that we have to build trust and et cetera, et cetera. But what I'll really like to say is that I think as a nation, we have to embrace sport differently. What Rahul just said was a very, very important point. At the moment, we are just fixated and focused on elite sport and winning, which is absolutely fine. It is all right. But we have to embrace sport on how sport can really play a meaningful way in nation building. We are a very young society, we have a very young population. Is our population the healthiest population, physically and mentally? Can sport play an important role in building a healthier society? What is being done towards that? Can we look at sport more meaningfully in that way? Education, I think we all know that sport builds character like no other. Can sport play a more important role in the education sector? Gender equality, I mean, we have so many girls and so many women champions here who've inspired a full generation of girls to take up sport. How can we use sport to continue to inspire? We talk about smart cities, for example. There's so much talk on smart cities. How do we incorporate sport at the heart and center of all development, where sport really becomes a social activity, where people just play for the sheer joy of playing? We need more Indians to just play, to just enjoy sport, to derive health benefits from it, and just have fun. And the byproduct of that would be that you will continue to win more medals, and your continuous fixation on winning will continue to get a lot of fuel. So.
Fascinating. Kollan, to take from there the joy, when as Federation President you are doing your best, trying to create the best for football, and all you see in the media or wherever is slander or attacks or barbs or banter, which is unfair, do you feel disillusioned? Do you feel to hell with it? I have a political career, I have another career, I'll quit this federation, I don't give a damn, it's not me. Do you feel that way, or you're like, no, I've come here for a purpose? On the 10th, you've given a response, I know a legal response yesterday to allegations, etc. Do you still have that resilience that I will make a difference to my sport, come what may? Kalyan.
I mean, if a person start, leaving day by, I would say, I have to prove to others, then I think that is a wrong choice. You don't have to prove to others. At least you know what you are doing. You know you are doing with your best of your ability, best interest for the country, best interest for the sport you are representing. And you have a peaceful sleep at the night. That's it. You don't have to prove others. Why do you? And when you say, you are president of Football Federation, Am I going to change football here in India? Am I here to do it alone by myself? President of organization is a post which is lead an organization. We have nearly 150 professional staffs in Goa, in Kolkata, in New Delhi, and we have 14 departments. Each department have their own roles and responsibilities. We have more, around 7 or 8 committees. Now, one person cannot change. This is a team game. Even shooting is a team game. Abhinav Bindra did not win an Olympic gold medal by himself. I'm sure entire team has worked behind him. Even if we go for a movie, if the movie does well, it is not because of the hero did well. Entire team. So football federation, a football team, if it does good or not that good, it's a collective failure or the credit. But yes, all of us, what we want, we are somewhere. If you are representing something, like me, I'm in football last 35 years. I played my first football with this Sports Association of India SAI, systematic football in 1989, way back in Kolkata side. Until today, 2024, I'm with football. So definitely, why should I say hell with it? I think I love the sport most. I cannot spend a day without discussing or thinking about football. I've been football president last 18 months. Prior to that, my life was there, and still I used to discuss about football. And post this, my life will be there, and I'll talk about football. So there is no question. I think it's not only me. It's if we believe us, so it is easier to work. If a human start representing me, then maybe the limit of growth is very limited. If we say it's us, then the scope become more broader.
Okay.
And that I believe.
So the I is not there, the we. Is your team the we come the 21st? Because clearly after a failed campaign, it's no longer we in many cases, and we've seen that with sports teams, they unravel.
It's always we, it's always us. There is never I there. You know, it's a team sport, especially football, with so many people involved. The most popular sport globally, you know, with so much interest involved. So, President reminded me, when I was a kid, I throughout my career chased my goals and my dreams. When I was young kid, I chased my dream to become good footballer. I was signed by professional club when I was 16, left home, signed my first professional contract. My next dream was to have my debut with a professional club. I did it. Next dream to represent my country. I did it. Next dream to become world champion. I did it. Next dream, new Croatia, independent country, to represent my country, my new country again, to go to the World Cup. I did it. I got the medal there. Dreams are always there. And as much as we say it's always us, as individuals, we are individually participating in collective result. And to make our teammates better, to make our environment better, we need to work as individuals on ourselves on a daily basis, day in, day out. And it's about chasing yourself on a daily basis, not chasing others. Looking yourself at the mirror and finding out that you are your biggest opponent on a daily basis. So that's the way to success.
Pramod Bhagat, are you your biggest opponent in Paris? Because you've won it for many, many years now, and everybody will expect again. Are you your biggest opponent? You have to dig deep 4 months later. Final minute.
Sorry?
आप खुद का ओपोनेंट आप हो? प्रमोद भगत को तो कोई हरा नहीं सकता है. लास्ट ओलंपिक्स में भी हमने देखा है, पैरालंपिक्स में. आपका सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज कौन है? आप खुद हो?
हाँ, डेफिनेटली, क्योंकि मेरा मानना आई एम द बेस्ट. जब अपने आप को आप बेस्ट समझते हो तब अपने आप को डिफेंड कर सकते हो और आगे जाके, और यही सब मेरा मतलब इंटरनल स्ट्रेंथ है. क्योंकि मैं जब भी कोर्ट में उतरता हूँ तो मेरा थॉट यही रहता है कि आई एम द बेस्ट और मैं सबसे बेटर हूँ, और मैं उसी अकॉर्डिंग खेलता हूँ, उसी अकॉर्डिंग मेरे माइंड से प्रेजेंट भी एक्टिव होते हैं और मैं ऐसा परफॉर्म करता हूँ. तो I try my best, but finally, I am the best.
Fascinating. The confidence and the overconfidence. Pramod has so far actually sort of made it possible. So that is confidence. It is difficult, a very, very thin line. We will see once again in Paris, and we will expect Pramod to continue in the very same manner that he's spoken to us here. My takeaway, Igor Stimac and Kalyan Chaubey publicly claiming there's no problem, and that should put an end to all the debate. It's not about negativity, it's the positivity. Abhinav Bindra talking about trust and the importance of governance there. Rahul Bose walking the talk and doing what Rugby India has done for its athletes over the last several months, including the aftermath of the Asian Games, which did not go well. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Rahul Bose, Abhinav Bindra, Kalyan Chaubey, Igor Stimac, and of course, Pramod Bhagat. May I have Vishnu Bhagat to please come up and felicitate our panelists. Vishnu, are you there? Please can you come up and felicitate our panelists before we go on to the next session on corporate India and sport. Yes. Vishnu Bhagat, Chief Executive of our partners, Shiv Naresh Sports, felicitating Rahul Bose, Abhinav Bindra, Kalyan Chaubey, Igor Stimac, and of course Pramod Bhagat. Can we all have you for a photo up, please? Vishnu ji, थोड़ा सामने आ जाइए for a photo. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Vishnu ji. We move on to our next session, corporate India and sport. And without corporate support, frankly, it's impossible to have sport at the elite level and, of course, at the grassroots level. Can we have on stage, put your hands together, as I welcome Chanakya Chaudhary from Tata Steel, one of our principal backers, a very, very dear friend, Vice President Corporate Services, Tata Steel, Shri Chanakya Chaudhary on stage. Shri Vignesh Shahane, CEO of Aegis Federal Life Insurance, a sports person himself. Adil Sumariwala, President of the Athletics Federation of India. Mr. M.V.S. Murthy, Chief Marketing Officer of Federal Bank. Mr. Rahul Todi, Managing Director of Shrachi Group. I don't think Sagar is there. And Professor Vijay Pereira. Professor Pereira is Professor of Sport and Business at the Neoma Business School. Can we have all our speakers on stage, please? And can we have, Prabha, can we have the crowd? Because we have to start with the next session. I understand the selfies and everything, but can we please start the next session? I have all our speakers. Where's Adil? Adil, can we have you on stage? I can see Adil getting mobbed by selfies. Adil, can we have you on stage and we can begin? So we have Chanakya, we have Vignesh, we have Adil, we have Professor Pereira. Rahul's there? Yes, you're there. Arekta chair lagbe. Dekhen to? Ekta lagbe na? Thank you. Ekta chair. Chair lagbe na? Rahul তুমি কোথায় আছে? Okay. So it's I'll find. Doesn't matter, I'll start from here. So let me get going from here. এই জায়গাটা একটু যদি খালি করা যায় and settle down. We'll give you a minute to settle down. Kindly settle down. আমি বারবার একই কথা বলি. These are speakers that you hardly get to hear. So kindly যারা আছেন, these are important sessions that we are trying to do here. আমি জানি ছবি তোলা দরকার, selfies are important, আমরাও করেছি. But let's respect our speakers. দরজাগুলো বন্ধ রাখবেন so that we can get going. Thank you very much with the chair. I'll start with Chanakya. Tata Steel, and the moment you talk about Tata Steel, you talk about a tradition, Chanakya, which is 100 and more years old in sport. But to be able to continue that tradition, gender equality, empowerment, sensitivity towards parasports, the number of academies, can you outline your vision, please, Chanakya Chaudhary, the vision of Tata Steel and yourself, to talk about what, and the support that corporate India, your company, does for sport across spheres? Chanakya Chaudhary.
Thanks, Boria.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. Shubhan, we need quieten down. এই জায়গাটা একটু খালি করে দাও এই জায়গাটা খালি করে দাও the kids need to settle down আপনারা যারা স্কুলের ছাত্রছাত্রী can you settle down you need to sit or please দাঁড়িয়ে থাকবেন না যারা অডিয়েন্সে আছেন if you don't want to be part of the session তাহলে বেরিয়ে যান আর গিয়ে বাইরে যান আর যদি থাকেন তাহলে settle down without that we will not let our speakers speak so let's settle down and let's carry on যারা থাকতে চান না তারা বাইরে যান yes Chanakya.
So what I picked up from what you were speaking was...
I asked about your vision and the vision of Tata Steel and the support across academies and years.
So 3 points, right? So starting from the, I think the vision of our founding fathers, because that's where the foundations of the organization, along with sports, got in some way the way forward was given to us way back in the 1920s and 30s itself. Started with Sourav Tata as our first chairman of the company, and his push for sports in India through the, the Olympic Association, which came in 1927 when he became the first president of the association. I think 1927 is also the year when we got our first sports committee or sports group formed in Tata Steel, which primarily looked at the sports and community together. It was done more for engaging as an engagement tool with the community. That's how it started. Having said that, I think as I see it for the last more than 100 years of this company being in existence, it has done much more than engagement. It has actually bound this society together. I think sports is a big binder. I recall my growing up years as a student and how on a roadside we would get transistors to hear commentary. And we didn't know whose transistor it was, who was the person, and at the same time it would possibly bind everyone together because it was India playing and fantastic it was India versus Pakistan. But it's a big binder. So that's the second point. The third is how we have now taken it forward over the years. I think Tata Steel and Jamshedpur, we have a big infrastructure for sports. We've set up many training centers for sports across our operating locations. We used to be a single location, Jamshedpur. We are now 5 locations in operating locations in Jharkhand, Orissa, plus the raw material locations again in Jharkhand, Orissa. So every location where we have operating plants, we have sporting infrastructure, we have training centers, and we have academies now, residential and non-residential sports academies, which is for football, hockey, archery, athletics, and the latest edition being of the sports climbing under the Adventure Foundation. And we have also spread it now Jamshedpur as well as in Orissa, Bhubaneswar and Keonjhar, where we have a hockey and we are now signed up for a archery academy and a sports climbing. The reason we are now positioning ourselves for the last 20 or 30 years into academies is that also allows us to get into the grassroots of the program, getting into the locations where we are, picking up the right kind of talent at that stage where you have young children who can be scouted for only if they have the inclination, the whole thought that I want to get into sports is good enough, and bring them on and then train them, hone their skills and put them onto their own to fend for themselves and get the best out of their own skills and talent. And I think we've had massive successes where archery is concerned. Some of our football academy, Tata Football Academy 1987, has also given some of the footballers for the Indian team. Now, this is the landscape in which Tata Steel has been working in terms of pushing for grassroots programs, football, hockey, to just give you a few examples, and then archery, and also getting the talent out and putting them into the world arena, bringing back laurels for themselves and the country. And the last but not the least is that what we do to promote sports at various platforms like this, where we are also now positioning, saying that let's all get together, like-minded corporates, like-minded individuals, to see what next can be done in sports to take India to the next level, including I would say special sports, Para-Olympics or even para-sports in Jharkhand and Orissa. We are trying to do our own bit in not only supporting some of the individuals, but also supporting it as a sporting event.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Vignesh, as a senior corporate, I mean, he outlined the vision of Tata Steel and how they can make a change to the sporting ecosystem. In your case, it's slightly different because you've been a sports person who then became a corporate leader. Have you applied sporting lessons into your corporate life when you lead a corporate? What are the lessons that you have derived from sport that you have applied in your corporate life?
First of all, good afternoon to everyone, and good afternoon, Borea. Thanks for having me here. Back to your question, you've asked me a question that's very close to my heart. Suffice to say, Borea, I've learned more on the cricket field than any boardroom or classroom has taught me in the last 30 years. What I can reel out now in a few minutes is the top 3 or 4 things, top of mind. The first thing that sport teaches you is never take success to your head and never take failure to your heart. And that's true in corporate also. You might have 2 or 3 good quarters or 2 or 3 quick promotions, and you could have a lull in your career. Similarly, you could score a brilliant 100 or get 5 wickets and then have a lull in you, and then get out the next day to a spectacular catch or a spectacular ball. So life is all about ups and downs. As long as you're true to your values and keep soldiering on, that's what you need to do. So never take success to your head and never take failure to my heart. I keep telling this to all my employees. Life is a marathon run. Corporate is a marathon run. And you just need to be true to your values and soldier on. The second thing I do, Borea, is I meet every new joinee in my company, and that's something also I've learned from very successful captains and sports teams. And I tell them, and I can see the question bubbling in their head as to when they can take my position or when they can become a CXO or when they can occupy the corner office. And I tell them, never plan to be CEO. And they look at me surprised. I say, prepare to be CEO. And I give them the example of Sachin Tendulkar, who's been our brand ambassador for 10 years now. I said, when Sachin picked up a bat to play cricket, he didn't want to be the best batsman the world's ever produced. But he prepared to be the best batsman every day, every practice, every session, every school match, every club match. He prepared to be the best batsman, and after 20 years, that's where he is. The second thing and third thing I tell them is, don't plan your career, and that surprises them even more. I think don't plan your career, but plan your jobs. Because I think a career is an aggregation of jobs. You take the pressure of yourself when you plan your job and you stick to the present. And again, I tell them with Sachin, when he started his career, he didn't want to play for India for 20 years or score 200 or score 100 centuries or play 200 test matches. But he planned his job, and his job was to play every match for Bombay or India or T20 or IPL with the same dedication and sincerity. And over a period of time, the career took care of itself. So never plan, and this is my message to everybody. Never plan your career because you're putting a lot of undue pressure on yourself. Plan and focus on the job on hand. Come to your desk every morning to play your A game.
Okay. Can I just go to Adil on that one? He says, don't focus on the job at hand, but you can't plan, and says that we've learned more from the cricket field than anywhere else. Adil, you wear both hats. You're an athlete, and now you're a federation president, negotiating with government for more funds, more facilities, asking Chanakya and Vignesh and Rahul and Mr. Murthy about money to keep your federation going. How challenging has it been? Cricket corners the bulk of the share. But now we are seeing facilities for athletes. We are seeing a Neeraj Chopra. We are seeing 7,000 athletes compete in your grassroots level. You've got money there. How important is the support of corporate India, and are you satisfied with what corporate India is doing?
So, my take is very different. I think corporate India as a whole has failed Indian sport totally. And I know people don't like it when I say it, and I say it. I think probably Tata's is the only company that comes to mind. I can't think of a second company that has served Indian sport in its true sense. Let me tell you that. Okay. Why? I was at a CII meeting. Now the gentleman has passed away. Among the top few companies in this country, he says, "You guys are all useless. So many million people. We were not a billion even then." And I was a 22-year-old youngster who was invited to that CII meeting. "You can't win medals, this, that." So I put up my hand. So, who's this fellow? I just come back from the Olympics, and I said, "Sir, may I ask you a simple question? How much money have you put into sport? He had put in zero." I said, "Sir, you have no moral right to speak." He got very upset. He was one of the biggest industrialists of his time in those days. So I said, "Sir, you have no right to speak. Put your hand in your pocket, then you talk." So let me tell you, we want government to do everything. Government can't do everything. First, it's a state subject. Secondly, in my view, government's job is to give you facilities and infrastructure. Yeah, quiet, please, yeah. Let me tell you what is the budget of this country, sports budget. Now I've got all the figures in writing, so I was just, that's why I have my laptop open. I've just pulled out all the figures. 3,397 crores. Out of which, it's not for sports. You're completely, it's sports and youth affairs. That is the budget, which includes NSS, Rashtriya Yuva Kalyan, Nehru Yuva Kendra, anti-doping, National Sports University, Khelo India, whatever. The actual budget is 1,297 crores, which is roughly 1,300 crores to write it off. Okay? Now, you are supposed to, so there are two types of money that a company can put in, either from your marketing budget
or CSR.
Marketing budget I have no problem with, because if you put in 2 and you want 4 back, absolutely, and I'm with you on that, you should get 4 back. Having said that, but from the CSR budget, the so-called philanthropists, what are they doing? They're taking that CSR money and converting it into a marketing budget, and marketing and becoming agents and making money on that and turning that money around. That is what they are doing. Now, corporate social responsibility is 2%. Just the top 5 corporates, if you take not 2%, 0.5%. 0.5% is 1,300 crores. 0.5% of the top 5 corporate social responsibility budget is 1,300 crores, which is equal to the sports budget of India.
Let me stop you there. So Vijay, the point that he's trying to make, and extremely serious, when you and I intellectualize as professors of sport, and we say India does not win medals, he's just held out a mirror in front of us. Look at what the facilities and the budgets are, even in relatively smaller European destinations or other parts of the world. And look, it's just not fair to say 130 crore people and 1 medal. It's not working like that. How many of the 130 crore have even access to the basics? The Tatas are rare. These fellows are rare. Talk about it.
Yeah, so I'll just pick up on Adil's point really. I mean, India is an emerging country. We are doing extremely well in terms of economic power, okay? Now, what responsibility is it for Indian corporates, I'll be specific for Indian corporates, and Tata is way up there, in terms of what they're giving back. Corporate social responsibility is a term that we borrowed from the West. But let's look at India as a country, as an emerging country, and say, okay, here we are, and we are moving towards a third best, largest economy in the world. Just did a piece on Forbes last week and identified what else can India do? How can it be more inclusive? And today I will coin the term, Boria, you've heard of these. So it should not be corporate social responsibility, it should be more specific in terms of sports social responsibility and corporate sports social responsibility. These are two terms that are going to be very specific to India. So let me give you a few examples. Viren starts an academy, encourages people for the last many years after retirement. What is corporate India doing to help him? What is corporate India doing to bridge the gap between, let's say, what Viren or Leander or Abhinav is doing and the government? Because that's the bridge. If you want to just copy what is happening in other parts of the world and learn from other parts of the world, this is exactly what is happening. Now, we go and ask the fundamental question. What is business's interest? Let's say, what is Tata's interest in sport? There can be 3 or 4. One is they build up their brand image. They want to get into the psyche of customers. They want to sponsor certain athletes so that their products are sold. That's one. The second is giving back. So if you're earning profits, you need to give back. Now we go beyond the 2%. And Adil gave you a 0.5 as an example. But the majority of people and corporates in India, be it small, medium, or large, would want to do it purely out of interest and nation building. Isn't that not the responsibility? Yeah. And the last point, Boria, is where are we headed if we are economically better but not inclusive and putting money to society through sport? That's what Abhinav said in the previous panel as well. That's what we've been hearing all through the morning. Is that to be inclusive, sport is going to be the key going forward. The medals will come, but I think the investment by corporate India, this is the time. If India is going to be the 3rd largest economy in the world, the question is, what are we doing for society, and where is sport coming in, and what is the role of corporates?
Mr. Murthy, inclusivity, how important is it? Because clearly by investing in parasport, you will not get as much mileage or eyeballs as in cricket. Does that inspire you? I mean, is it always about the ROI? Is it the return on investment? Is it more as somebody who is doing it? Vijay raises some very pertinent points, and taking a cue from Adil and Vignesh, are you doing enough, and what are the lessons you apply?
So I think what a brand does is a function of its people, which is the team which makes the brand, the employees who work with the companies. Second thing is a part of how their business interests are. And I can tell you about this, about Federal Bank particularly, is that we have a very, very rich heritage of people who are naturally inclined towards sports. And I'll tell you where it's led us to. Second thing is that as a company, our businesses are in tier 2, tier 3 towns. And for a bank is about people, the community, the society, and the nation. So it comes very naturally for us to get deeply involved in the community. Now what we do may not be very, very visible at this point in time, and I'm saying it's going to happen. But we are able to bring together people at a community level and give them joy. So for instance, we have a collaboration with the Kovalam Football Academy. We have a collaboration with the Gokulam Football Academy. The kids who come to play there are kids from the fishermen community. They are not thinking of going and playing in the European League, or they're not thinking of going, but the joy of the sport is what is bringing them together. And it is our contribution of participating with the community is point one. The second thing that we are actively working on, and which is also because India is changing as a country, and we'll come back to this point a little later, is working with individual sports people and athletes, because they are the ones who need a lot of support. And I can tell you this because I'm a dad to a 15-year-old who's doing reasonably well in studies. He's a drummer, and he's also a sports person. He plays tennis, but he doesn't win. He doesn't win, and it is bloody expensive. And he tells me that, Papa, I give only 75% on court, 25% I don't do anything. I said, why? You should give 100%. We're going and doing so much for you. But he says, Papa, I need it for recovery. So when you are able to back individual athletes and sports people, you don't know whether they will win a medal or not. Today everybody wants to be a Neeraj Chopra or everybody wants to be a Novak. It doesn't happen. There are so many people who fail. But they get inspired, of the fact that somebody's taking care of their travel or stay and stuff like that. So that's the area that we are working on. So there are two ways to look at the involvement of a corporate. One is that are they at a high profile, high label kind of an event, which we must do because it allows for a lot of people to come in and espouse the sport. Second is that you work at a bottom level. The third point, the last point that I want to make is that we are also working at giving opportunities to a lot of our folks to play with international level athletes. For example, we are the sponsors of the International Tennis Federation's women's tennis tournament which is happening here. One of the reasons our kids can't play a Grand Slam is because they don't have enough and more international tournaments to play in India. The moment we land up in a 16-degree or 15-degree temperature, we freeze. We are not able to manage it. Now, we have taken it upon ourselves, at least as far as the women's tennis is concerned. Let's bring more and more international players, create formats here so that they play. Because the more we play, the more the infrastructure will get built. And one of the most beautiful things which is happening is that our country is getting connected from an infra perspective. It's very easy for somebody to go from point A to point B alone as a child and play. I mean, I would travel 5 kilometers to go and walk 5 kilometers to go and watch people in white play tennis as a kid. There was no transport, but the opportunities are changing. So I would want to believe that we are on an upswing rather than,
Rahul, this panel has been the synergy between the speakers is what's standing out. Adil talked about the Tatas being an exception, but then corporate social responsibility. Vijay said corporate sports social responsibility. Mr. Murthy saying, okay, it is the last point about allowing facilities and that's why they sponsor. Vignesh, the lessons. In your case, my disconnect is I'm sitting in Bengal and I don't see these facilities. I don't see the Baton Cup, which is a 100-year-old tournament, get its glory back. Odisha has 25 AstroTurfs, Bengal doesn't have one. The one that is now coming up is finally coming up. And I then see people like you saying, okay, I will invest in football, East Bengal is a brand, fine, I understand. But you're saying cricket, you're saying hockey, you're saying parasport, that interests me. Talk to me about that.
It's actually, I am actually not even doing anything. You all have been legends, Tatas have been doing this for 100 years. So I am a startup, to be honest. Having said that, I think the idea what brought me into sports, and I think the reason why we have that panel is, and everybody agreed that the corporates need to play a larger role. I think that is without a doubt, whether you do it through CSR or you look at it as an investment. I mean, you could set up 100 crore steel plant and invest in a state. So me being in the real estate business, I thought we could create a niche, because if you look at our projects today, and not in the city, but at least in the fringes, or a lot of the existing cities are being redeveloped because of infrastructure reasons, or just general building collapsing, or natural metros coming and destroying something. So these spaces, we already create such spaces in our projects, which we are doing 20 acres. I mean, that's my model. I would now plan every project, and the law would support me with a sporting facility, which is not part of the common area of the residents. So that makes it legally fine. And these facilities can be run by anybody. I mean, there are companies, exportsmen, and that is the business model, one of the business models that we are working on.
What I'm going to do now, each of you, I'm going to give you two minutes, and the last 15 minutes of the panel, and ask you that, and you are all powerful people who can bring about change. If there are 3 things that you want changed or you can change as a leading corporate, Mr. Chaudhary first, the day I went to you, and I remember that conversation vividly, and I said, can you support me? I want to do this. And your first question to me was, are you wanting to do it in cricket? I said, no. I want to do it in Olympic sport, parasport. He said, we are on. And I'm putting this on record. He said, we are on. How much money do you want? And at that point in time, I did not even have a figure in mind. I just said a figure X. And he said, chal, done. And I was taken aback that I did not ask cricket. You said if you're in cricket, no. If you're in para sport, if you're in Olympic sport, yes. What was your vision? Because that changed my vision as well. Chanakya Chaudhary, time starts now, 2 minutes, 3 things that you want to change.
So at times one takes decisions which may not be always right. So I don't know whether this is right or wrong. But nevertheless, this was not within the 2 minutes. So please give me that 10 seconds extra. No, but I would, going to the whole thought process is that cricket has many sponsors. So let me be very straight on. As an organization, we have been trying to push forward sports which do not get many backers, many funders. And frankly, it's been a revelation for, at least personally for me, that archery or hockey, you know, you get talent which is in the absolute hinterland of India. From households who may not even have basic education for them. They are the people who need to be supported. They are the individuals who need to be supported. It's a lot of challenge for families to be convinced to send a child into an academy or for sports. Because I recall when I was growing up, it was a very famous saying that padhoge, likhoge to banoge nawab, kheloge, kudoge to banoge kharab, or something to that effect. And my parents would tell me the same, saying that, boss, finish your education, khiladi baad mein banna. Now, times have changed. You have a professional approach towards sports. And I think that's the one thought which I have. Second is what you just said, why anything else like para or Olympics or any other sport. One was what I told you. The second is, as an organization, Tata Steel has been pushing for inclusivity, pushing for diversity. And I think there are many things which were excluded from this whole sports arena. For example, when we started this chess tournament in Calcutta about, I think, 5-7 years back, we did not realize that there is no event for chess in India at that point in time. And Vishwanathan Anand was still playing, and I remember when we got the best of talent from across the world on chess, it started, we didn't think through that much at that point in time. And then a few years down the line, we added the women's section. And again, to my own personal surprise and to most of us in Tata Steel, we didn't realize that there were events for men and women who did not have equal prize money. And then we said, no, we will have equal prize money. Now, the fact is that we were pushing for inclusivity from various walks of life, various sports, which can get people together. And I'm happy that we are playing our bit. I don't know whether we are really doing what we should be doing in totality, but we are doing our bit and going forward with like-minded people and organizations who can join hands to make it into a platform where every individual, every industry or corporate can do their own bit. I tend to agree with Adil when he gave me the statistics today. It's not about from which fund do you take out, but till the time you look at it saying, I'm spending this money for a different purpose and that purpose is getting served, I think we'll all go home and sleep well.
Sport is all about timing. 2 minutes. Chanakya Chaudhary, well done.
10 seconds.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Vignesh Hane, your 2 minutes starts now.
I'm very clear about it. I think I agree with Atul when he says that corporate India has not done too much of sport. Possibly cricket is an exception, but even in cricket, corporate India has now started doing things at the grassroots level. So I think the heavy lifting has to be done by the government and corporate India through CSR, through marketing, through whatever you wanted, but also at the grassroots level. Not only marquee properties, corporate India should also get involved in the hinterland, different sports, at the grassroots levels. Because the temptation is to increase TRPs and go for the marquee properties, but we should eschew that and go for the grassroots level. So I think grassroots level investment of effort, time, money is essential.
You still have a minute. Is it happening?
Sorry?
You still have a minute. So is it happening? Are you seeing that happen?
It's beginning to happen. I can speak of my own company. I mean, I was part of the MRF Lilly Foundation in 85, which changed the face of Indian fast bowling for 20 years. Then I was a part of the Tyson Maffatlal's bowling scheme in Bombay, which changed the face of Bombay cricket. Bombay won 6 out of the 10 Ranji trophies in the next year. And in 2011, my company got got Thompson, and Shardul Thakur, Prasid Krishna are all products of that academy. So I see that happening slowly, but I think the pace should increase, and it should happen beyond cricket.
I'll actually add that you also did support Gopi and the Young Champs program, which I thought made a huge difference.
And also Dilip Vengsarkar's academy, which has produced Yashasvi Jaiswal.
Yeah.
We've been supporting that for 10 years. And when Yashasvi Jaiswal was a young boy, and today he's all over the news.
Yeah.
So I think grassroots levels beyond cricket is essential.
Absolutely, and I see that because I've done some of those programs myself. Whether it's parasport, we celebrated that. We celebrated badminton. Again, 2 minutes, well done. Adil Sumariwala, what are the 3 changes that you would want? You wear 2 hats, Vice President of World Athletics, President of the Indian Athletics Federation.
Very simple, few points. And I'll also give you solution. I never speak without giving a solution. Point number 1, also from what I gather here, everybody wants to sponsor a Neeraj Chopra, a Hima Das, a Duti Chand. You will fail. It is a system that you need to support. You don't support the system, you fail. Duti, say Hima Das, 400 meters relay, last 5 Asian gold medalist. Can you sponsor Hima Das, pull her out of the relay, sponsor her, she goes by business class, the rest of the team travels by economy? No, you can't. So you have to create that whole system, number 1. Number 2, nobody wants to do grassroots at the big level. I run the largest grassroots level program in the world, where under 14 and under 16, more than 7 lakh children only in that age group take part from 620 districts, come to an all India inter-district. Nobody wants to sponsor that. This year, the government of Gujarat did it. Last year, the government of Bihar did it with help of REC. Otherwise, nobody wants to sponsor. That event cost me $2 million, where I feed 10,000 people for 6 days. I pay for their train fare, I pay for their food, accommodation, so nobody can say I can't come to run the championship. Neeraj, Duti, all of them were found in that program. So it is a system, it's a system that will produce the champions. Next point, there is a correlation, as you know, the direct correlation between advertising and GDP. There is a direct correlation between spending on sports and GDP, and we have totally failed there. While our GDP has increased, everything has increased, our sports spending has not. Okay? So let's smell the coffee. Let me finish. Point number 3. You look at the top 30 companies. I'm not even saying 100, top 30 companies. If you take just the 0.5% is 7,500 crores. If top 30 companies or the top 30 companies, and the answer to your question is, if they took one sport only and sponsored it and took care of everything right from the administration to making infrastructure, 30 crores a year, each company put in 30, and instead of trying to do 10 sports, did one sport, we would be a very powerful sporting nation. See, it requires guts for a corporate to put out money. When Anil Singh went to Standard Chartered, somebody put a check on the table. Today it's become a movement. Running has become a movement. Nobody at that time thought, "Mere ko kya milega?" There was somebody who had the heart, the dil and the bloody guts to put a check on the table. Anil Singh, go and do it. And that is what is required. That is what we require of corporate India today.
Mr. Murthy, your 2 minutes.
So one, as I told you earlier, we would want to work with the communities where we have our businesses and help grow the sport in that particular community. Number 2, we definitely want to work, we may not own the cup, but we definitely want to work on the mental aspects, on the nourishment aspects, on the hydration aspects, if I may say so, of sports people. It's a very important area for us to go out and work. And number 3, I think we need to also unshackle the minds of parents. And when we are setting up larger sporting facilities like what the Tata Group does, or what some of our leading sports people do, if we can create a concentric circle of good schooling around it, I'm sure a lot of parents will come forward to send their kids to those facilities, because now the worry is, agar sports nahi chala to fir kya karega? And that is what stops people from taking those calls. But overall, I think as a nation, because of the progress of a lot of sports which are happening, it's a moment of pride when you see the headline, the photograph of Neeraj Chopra and this blur behind his hair and this javelin going in. I mean, it's as powerful as listening to the national anthem. So I think the time has come. More than the sports people, the parents need to come out of their mindset and give India better and better sports people. So that's where we need to work.
Fascinating. Rahul Todi, your 2 minutes. I'll give Vijay the last word to intellectually summarize the whole thing.
I think one change that I would like is what I was referring to my earlier point, that when a city or a district or the government goes for infrastructure development or any real estate project is sanctioned, we always call for EWS housing. But one of the requirements and green area is there. So if it can be organized green, which can be used for sports, I think that is a change. The other thing, instead of expecting, I think what I can surely say is that we will start at the grassroots. In fact, the things what we are doing, Shachi, Sports and Leander, and we'll talk about it later in the evening, but we are focusing on education. And that is why we can do it is because we have our projects across the state and not in Calcutta. We have projects in Bardwan, Jamshedpur, Ranchi, Bhubaneswar, and large lands, and more in the districts. State government has a lot of facilities which have been created, but unfortunately, which happens with the government, and sirs would agree, the maintenance and the running then becomes a white elephant. And I think this is where PPP models have been made, and the private sector, not only us, not only whoever is sitting, all can create. And the ecosystem around sports. Please keep in mind, you don't make money in the cinema hall by showing this, exhibiting the cinema. It's the concessions and the others that make you the revenue. So the sports, the playing of sport or the showing of sport, of course the showing of sport does make money, but the playing may not make money, but the ancillaries around it, the F&B, can these sporting facilities be retail destination? Can they do multifunctional things? Why should a CAB stadium only be used for cricket? Can you create other facilities like lounges so that you keep bringing in? CCI in Bombay does that a lot, and that generates revenue.
Okay.
So that is the mindset change, and I'll try my best to do what I could.
Vijay Pereira.
So let's look at corporate India and sport, and who are the players. You have the sports persons, you have the administrators, you have the governments, you have the corporates, and then the missing clog, I believe, is academia, because you need knowledge. You need accumulation of knowledge and the transfer of knowledge. And we should seriously look, and I work very closely with the IIMs across India and beyond as well. I think that's the clog. If you look at the successful sports person and the academies, there is a lot of academia that happens in terms of knowledge, grasping, accumulation, and sharing. So for example, technology, big data, all of this, it requires people with the knowledge. And they're far and spread. And so in the next 4 to 5 years, I think the plan is with Boria to begin these sports conferences, business and sport conferences. We're having the biggest ever business and sport conference in France between the Olympics and the Paralympics at my university in France. That's going to be a start. And suddenly, IIM Indore, the director met me last week and said he wants to host the next one next year. And so suddenly we have sponsors as well. So I think, knowledge, but also then to say, how do we train people such as sports psychologists, sports managers? The IPL, you have such a huge need of trained people who can run as managers. And I think there's a huge gap there. And I think if India wants to make that the transition, I think the role of academia is very important.
My 2 minutes, it's 1:38. You know, when I talk about parasport to people, Manasi is here, so I'll give Manasi's example. And I come and say, you know what, Manasi Joshi, this is her story, para badminton world champion, look at her with a prosthetic leg. And people will say, what a great story, yaar kya story hai? Story nahi hai, inspiration hai. Equally treat karo na, sympathy nahi hai, empathy hai. We don't do that in India. Parasport is still sympathy, still story, still part of that addendum in a program. That's not the case. Parasport is parallel sport. That's what it is. And unless you understand that, unless you agree to that, unless you have a Neeraj Chopra and a Sumit until next to each other, you will never get anywhere as a society. And our corporates need to understand that. Why am I doing Trailblazers 2.0? What is the point of doing Trailblazers 2.0 when tomorrow, when my child doesn't want to play, we will say, there has to be a lifestyle change, a cultural change. The change has to come from inside. It is not the Neeraj Chopra. It is about a lifestyle change. Sport, universal sport, sport, elite sport. Elite sport is there. That's where the corporate money will be. But why can't we? We are talking about corporate governance, we are talking about government. What about us as parents? Do we encourage our children to play? Do we play a little part? Everyone, if you come to a sports event, will call them, a free ticket, give me a free ticket. You don't want to even buy a ticket for a Paralympic sport event or a badminton or a shooting for 100 rupees. But you will go and buy an IPL ticket for 2,500 rupees. That is the lifestyle change. That is the cultural mindset that we need to change in this country to become a multi-sporting nation. I think lunch will be served, so I'll let Shormishta take over from here. We have to have Srinjoy on stage to felicitate this particular panel. Srinjoy Bosch, can we have you on stage to felicitate this panel? And then Shormishta will make the announcements for lunch as to how it's being served. Thank you very much. Once again, Vignesh Shahane, Adil Sumariwala, Mr. Murthy, Chanakya Chaudhary, Vijay Pereira, and Rahul Todi. Put your hands together for our corporates, corporate governance and sport.
Yes, so that was a wonderful morning, and the lunch is served. We have food for everyone, but our sponsors, speakers, athletes kindly proceed towards the back of the room. Our corporate sponsors, speakers and athletes, please proceed towards the two back doors. All members of the media and others kindly proceed to this front door. There is food for everyone. Once again, corporate sponsors, speakers and athletes, the two back doors, and members of the media and all others, this front door. There is a Wow Momo stand here, and there is free, fresh momos and other food from our sponsor, Wow Momo, here for media and all others.
Okay, so anyone who wants to have lunch and come back here, come back at 2:15, because Satvik and Chirag play at the French Open today. So we've recorded with them last night. So you can see Satvik and Chirag, the interview being played at 2:15, and we will reconvene with our physical session at 2:30. So that's the plan. Have your lunch, 35, 40 minutes, come back 2:15 if you want to watch that, or 2:30 if you want to be part of the physical session.